I feel we just need to sit around the fire. Hi, Pulse. Hi, Pulse. Pulse, I'm secretly mad at you. I'm holding a grudge. Because I have an issue that's been bothering me. Uh-huh. Not really bothering me, but it's been, I am holding a grudge against you. Yep. Yep. I'll let you keep wondering what it is, though, Pulse. Light my candle. There we go. No! Go to put it into the candle holder, it goes out. I have that problem. Trans is beautiful. We need some love this morning in the air. Okay, I get it. It's resolved. Pulse is the problem, by the way. No, I'm not trolling. I've had a. I just love messing with you, but yeah. Ivy, do you still talk to Phantom? I seen you come in. And Ophelia's dad. Why do I not follow you? I don't know. Why do I not follow you? I feel like we've gone back and forth. Like, hey, Alyssa,
Hi, Echo.
how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there. TikTok's been busy this morning, apparently.
Yeah?
Yep. I felt a disturbance in the force, and someone was name dropping me. Yep. Z Train.
Oh, Z Train.
Yeah.
Zachary Elliott, I think.
Yep.
Y'all, I am freaking out right now. I don't know who to trust on this app and who not to trust. It is so nerve-wracking.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay. Echo, I know that you're trolling.
No.
Volg?
No.
You would message me on Discord.
No.
And we would
It's
have
not
a
that big of a
discussion.
deal, but there is something I have thought about.
Okay, what is it? I'll own it.
So with all the drama that happened when I called out Nate, instead of standing on your own and like you followed the crowd and listened to people and gave in, and then you unfollowed me and said I'm done with Echo, and then
Yep.
you came back. Like I get like
Okay.
parasocial relationships, we don't owe people space or friendship or anything. We're not like
I did say that I was going to probably not. I said I was going to distance myself from you.
right, right. And
But
you did a little bit. You did a
using
little
stuff.
bit, but you unfollowed
I
and then
did
you came
distance myself.
back.
I did distance myself from you for a little bit,
You
just
gave
because
in to
I wanted to get
online
you some
peer
space,
pressure.
just to get you some space,
I
because
know.
I wanted to get myself some space too. So, but that's what people do. We basically, hey, I'm gonna give you some space, and then by chance, if the space is valid, then I'll refollow you. Who cares?
Yeah, it was weird. It felt weird to me just because, like, again, you know me and my fucking autism. Fucking, It's like you gave in to online peer pressure.
Yeah, probably.
Where'd forbidding go? Auntie Cookie, I feel like I haven't just sat down and had to talk with you in a while.
Okay, was that it, Echo?
Yeah, that's it. That was the big thing.
Okay. Okay.
Not him running. Auntie, how are my trans mice? Good. Been a lot lately going on.
On TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
I've been. I've not really been around. What I miss?
Well, Z Train's now going in lives talking about PAX's live the other day when we were speaking on an issue.
That's emotional of him.
Yeah, he's very emotional.
Being hysterical.
I think so.
I also think he'd be happier if he would just smile a little more.
Yeah, a lot of people would. So yeah, I didn't really see anybody was really live this morning, so I just wanted to kind of open it up for people to say whatever, talk about whatever, debates pop up, you know me.
Well, they see is on a.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for someone to come up and see this and be like, well, where's the definition for trans is beautiful?
Sloppy, what's your age?
I'm 24 and you just want my age, 24.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can give your pronouns and shoe size if you want.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Can we get your shoe size?
No, I'm good. Is that a fetish or some shit?
No.
Why'd you
No,
go to a fetish?
No,
I don't know. It's a fetish for me. I would like to know your shoe size.
Nice.
I wake,
Oh, God.
This is ridiculous.
and when I wake up, the first thing I think about are people's toes. That's what I think about. I think about licking the bottom of people's feet every morning when I wake
Why
up.
do I believe you? I genuinely believe you.
You should. You should believe me.
But I don't agree. Well, I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I agree with it. I think everybody's beautiful. But I just don't agree with everybody pushing it on people.
Hey, Jay, I need your age, please.
I think everyone is ugly.
Wait, what'd you say?
I just need your age.
I'm 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do all trans people have the same voice?
You said what? You said why do gay people have the same voice?
Yeah, so like I was saying, to the prompt,
He said, why do all trans people sound the same?
Oh.
Low key though.
They don't.
Maybe because you speak the language, so like it sound different to you. They all
Wait,
sound the
trans
same.
people speak a different language than us?
Sometimes.
Can I ask exactly what that language is? Because I feel like this is not the first time I heard this. I heard this yesterday actually in a GC live. They were like, all gay and trans people sound the same. I sound like I'm chewing on quarters. Echo sounds very sophisticated. Auntie Cookie just sounds like they're over this app in general every time I hear them talk because everyone annoys them. I don't know Alyssa, and Jay just sounds happy to be here. So, like, what do you mean we all sound the same?
Wait, no, relax. Yeah, relax. We're getting too offended here.
Don't tell me to relax. I don't want to relax.
Wait, who's getting offended though?
No, because that's just my opinion. I think, you know what I mean? I can have an opinion. This is America, right?
Well, your opinion is stupid.
That's fine. That's also an opinion. But yeah.
But make your opinion make sense, because it doesn't.
It doesn't have to make sense. It's my opinion. It's just
I mean, then it's not really a valid opinion.
No, it's an opinion though. It doesn't make it not an opinion though. You can say it's not valid because you're the one with the squeaky voice, but that has nothing to do with me. So
Not an
Squeaky
educated
voice.
opinion,
Okay,
though.
I can
yeah,
make my voice deep too, nigga.
exactly. So they all
Ah,
develop the same
Oh,
Sloppy.
voice on
then
Let
we
me
purpose.
ask
They
don't
you a
all
need
sound the same on
question.
that.
purpose.
Sloppy, let me ask you a question.
No,
Are
you
you
can't just
sure
come
that
in here
this is
asking me.
America?
Relax.
Are you
I'm
sure
not.
this is
You
America?
you haven't
Because I think
introduced
this is an
yourself.
app
No,
that
I'm
you
gonna
haven't
need
comes
you to
from
introduced
stop
yourself
all
yet.
telling
different countries.
females
Naomi, you
or
haven't
to stop
introduced
to
yourself
relax,
yet.
sir.
Wait,
Stop
she
Alright,
hasn't
that.
Sloppy,
introduced
hold
herself.
on. If you're gonna
I
make
think everybody
statements, you
knows
gotta
who
let
I
people
am.
No,
respond.
I don't know. I could be talking to a child. I don't know who you are.
Sloppy,
I
you
think
gotta let
everybody
people
knows who I
respond.
am.
Right, but she came in here. She came in pretty hot. That's all. Go ahead.
I think you know who I am, and I think that you know that this is an app, and I think that you know that
Mhm.
this isn't just America. This is the United Kingdoms. This is Australia. This is
Mhm.
all over the place. So for you to sit there and say that is kind of obtuse.
Yo, well, I apologize that my country gives me the freedom of speech. I apologize that your country probably doesn't. So, you know what I mean? But also this is what I want to
Think
say.
your country gives you freedom of speech. No, hold on, because you just said something very problematic. This country does not give you freedom of speech. We're less than 10 days out from another social
Mm,
media ban because this app can potentially leave on the 5th, and
okay.
you're going to say you have
But
freedom of
that's because this
speech?
app is worldwide. You know that, right?
What the
Like
fuck?
Naomi just said, it's worldwide.
You have
So it's
freedom
not
of speech.
exclusive to America.
You do not have freedom of speech.
Ooh,
Actually, you
you're
don't
telling
have
me my
freedom of
rights.
jack shit. No one in
Ooh.
this country has freedom to do a
And
motherfucking
then you know what's
thing at
funny?
this
Watch when
point.
I get disrespectful, they start muting me and kicking me out. That's the funny part about this.
Oh,
But
I'm not muting you, and
oh
I'm
no, not
kicking you
you,
out.
not you, not you. I wasn't speaking on you. I was just speaking in general. When I
That's
get
what you
Are
you're
you
wrong,
saying I'm being
Sloppy.
disrespectful?
That's the thing is I'll meet
yeah,
you where
a
you
little bit,
are.
but that's just my opinion. So,
Sloppy, I expect decorum from adults,
hmm
so I don't really sit here and mute people. Like, I expect people to be able to hold a conversation. And
nice.
if, as you can tell, like, we only really kick people that drop slurs or say offensive stuff.
Okay, true. Okay, bet. I like this fair
I
game.
am
So,
disrespectful. And you
see,
like
okay,
trying to do that little
there you go.
shot
So
where you were
let me
like,
match your energy then. Let me
no,
match
hold
your energy.
on. Okay, match it. Match it.
Okay. So
Light it on fire. Match it.
like I was saying before, I'm personally not a fan of like the trans community, and I'm being like, but I don't hate them. Like I'm not a hateful type of dude. It's just you can't really learn nothing. Nobody ever gives you the opportunity to learn. It's always a classy clapback every single time. It's always some weird metaphor every time. You can never get a straight answer
Okay,
out of
but why
anybody.
is it other
Okay,
I
let
people's
definitely
if I
agree with
responsibility
your
to
may,
educate
opinion.
you,
It's
though?
always
Echo,
disrespect.
if I may,
No,
Echo,
let me finish my
you
points.
know
'Cause
me,
no,
and you know that
you're cutting
I
me off.
have no.
You're cutting me off. Let me
Hold
finish my
on,
point.
I'm gonna get
Right.
back to you.
Right.
If you
Wait,
have no,
let me finish my point. You got to hold your horses there, buddy. So,
All right,
yeah.
Sloppy,
okay,
30
fantastic.
seconds, go.
Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, just always disrespectful. Um, really confusing. You can be a man one day and then a woman the next day. It's all this flipping and flopping and hooting and hollering and dibbling and
You
dabbing and
haven't tried to
all
learn a
this.
Most
fucking thing.
trans people don't flip
See?
flop. Like, they're pretty persistent on it.
So say for instance, there's a trans woman and they want to run up on me crazy and I hit him in the eye.
No, we don't
Um,
talk about assault.
no, well, that's self defense because I just gave a scenario.
Yeah, but that gets the live taken down, so you're putting my life in
So
danger.
that's the scenario. They can
You
call the
can
cops
say
and be like,
something
oh my.
like they run up on you and put hands on you. I would say, like, that's anybody that would do that. So it's weird that you would, like, particularly put that on trans
Well,
people and
this
say,
is the
like,
thing. I
they're.
live in LA, and these trans people are super aggressive, and they're really entitled, and they expect everybody to respect them, and they don't show respect to anybody else. So yeah, they're the type to do that, to run up on you crazy.
Before you divert into another topic of going down that route, Naomi was trying to address you, so I want to give you.
Yeah, she cut me off though. Remember that? So go ahead,
Yeah,
Naomi.
but you're
Okay.
changing topics and diverting. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
you're diverting. So I'll meet you where you are because I am not that trans person. I will talk to you with respect and I'll answer your questions, and I have no problem not coming back with you with a clapback about it. Go ahead, ask your questions.
No, I have no questions to ask. I
Well,
was
you
just
do obviously.
no,
You say that if people clap back at you, and don't give you the opportunity to have your questions answered. But I am not that person. I will give you the answers that you deserve. Go ahead.
All right. So look, this is a question. So it's about non-binary. I know it has nothing to do with trans. So how the hell can a non-binary person identify with a sexuality if they're non-binary? They're not even
Yeah.
a sex.
So I'm non-binary, but I'm also trans. So I just don't fit the typical man or woman binary spectrum. I refer to myself as trans femme because that's very much often the way I present myself to the world and who I am and how I see myself. Not transgender really just means like a recognized incongruency between your sex and gender. I am also seeking cross-sex hormones, which is kind of a different thing.
But how can you be non-binary, but you don't have a gender? How can you not? How can you
I
be
have a
non-binary?
gender.
Well, I'm
I
saying how
have
could
a gender.
okay? So I'm saying how can you be non-binary, which
Gender
is
as a social construct can be many different things. Like there's many different genders because it is a social construct.
no,
Gender is just
no,
what
I
we
didn't finish the question.
recognize within society.
Okay, so
So, like, I'm recognized as non-binary or trans femme within society. That's my
okay,
gender.
so no, what I'm saying is this: non-binary doesn't identify with the gender. So how can you be
No,
transgender
we
and
don't.
non-binary?
We don't identify within the binary of a man or a woman. That's all.
Okay, so what bathroom do non-binary people use then?
It depends whatever they're safest or most comfortable in. I
But you
use the
don't
men's
think
room.
so it's
I have
what
a
they're
couple
safe of,
questions
but
for
like
Sloppy.
Would they feel safe in, or would does everybody
Can we
Yeah,
else
get
feel
because
safe
back?
in?
Can we get back to the conversation, Sloppy? That you're diverting because
Okay.
again,
No.
you
I
said
asked I asked
your
my question, but he
questions
keeps
were
cutting me off.
directly affected about trans
Okay. So
women,
look,
and that's what we need to stick to because that
yeah.
is your
So
first and foremost issue.
no. So I asked the question, and the host keeps keeps interrupting in the
yeah,
middle of the question, and
I
it
was
never
confused
gets the
too.
full question. So
I
what
was
I was saying,
confused too because I'm sorry, I was confused too because he was talking about yeah, like non-binaries using the bathroom and being whatever is safe for them, but you don't think of the
You
safety of like biological men or women
Excuse me,
that it is their
topic.
bathroom.
Topic. That's not what we were talking about. You came in and you're not listening.
it's
We were
tropoja.
talking. We were talking about him not getting the answers that he to the questions that he wanted
And
answered,
yet I'm still not
and
getting the
people
answers because I'm
slap
not.
back. But you're asking about non-binary. You're
No.
not asking about trans. That's the whole thing. Is that you said
How could you
verbatim?
be? No, I just
I'm not
asked just
getting
now.
the
Listen,
The
answers
I
host
just
I
asked.
said,
want
Nobody's
for
listening
a
because I
trans
just asked the
question.
question. I just asked it. If y'all can
and it
hush
was
up for a
answered,
second,
but you
I can
didn't
answer
like the
ask the
answer.
question again. Here we
and I
go
The
was
again.
question
telling
was
you,
Here we
answered.
go again.
and I was
Can I?
The
telling
question was
you
No,
answered.
you
have a
never heard the whole question because you keep
misunderstanding
talking
of
over
what
me. You
sloppy.
never.
I'm telling you, you have a misunderstanding of what non-binary is.
No,
Non-binary doesn't mean it does
steady
not
talking. And I didn't
mean
even ask the question yet. Steady
sloppy.
talking.
Sloppy. It does not mean that we don't identify with the gender.
You answering
We
a half
still
question, sir.
Oh Jesus! What the
identify
fuck is
with
the
the gender.
question?
We don't
God
identify
damn.
with man or a woman. That's what it means.
Okay, but so what are you transitioning to then?
oh, for fuck's sake.
That's different than being non-binary or trans.
Real
Look,
quick, I don't
this is
think that
crazy.
Sloppy or Trope knows what transgender actually means. I'm kind
I
of
don't think
curious on what their definitions are, and then I'll give them the scientific accurate definition of what it means to be trans.
transitioning to one gender to another
Nope,
gender.
already wrong.
You cannot
My
transition to any gender. You can
So,
assimilate to be that of another sex. That's what you can do. You can assimilate to be that of another sex, but you will never be that sex.
okay, so trans in a scientific manner means that there's a incongruence between your brain and your genitalia. With that being said, it's important that we have words right. So trans means to be across from, cis means to be on the same side of. So you as a cisgender person, you're on the same side as your sex, the same side as your gender.
So that means
Where
I'm
a
a woman.
trans person has that incongruency, which puts their gender across from their assigned sex. Oh, and he ran.
Okay, so that means I'm a woman. I don't have to put like, why am I supposed to call myself a cis woman when I'm just a woman?
Well,
You're just a
that
woman.
is
You're
just
absolutely right,
a
and that's exactly what
scientific.
you should be saying. Is that you're a woman. You're not. You don't
Yeah.
have to say you're a cis woman. You absolutely are 100% correct. You do
Okay.
not need that.
Oh
So
my god. Why
when
are
we're
we
talking about cis
why are
and
we allowing
trans,
this?
we normally only do it in a academic scientific setting to differentiate between the two, scientifically speaking. Give me one sec.
Cis
So
is
traffic.
definitely a prefix that's needed. Not in
Hey,
all
Auntie Cookie.
contexts, but it is needed.
Hey,
It's not
Arthur.
needed in the real world, though. Auntie
No,
It's
I
Cookie.
would
needed
say
in
in everyday
medical terms and it's
conversation we
needed when we're
don't use
talking
it.
in spaces like this.
Right, but here's the thing: is that you know we ask them that we want them to respect our pronouns, but we're not respecting the fact that they don't want to be called cis, right?
They don't want to be called cis because they don't want to be associated with trans people because they're transphobic.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Okay. From my perspective, if we don't want that, if we want them to respect our pronouns, right? Which my take on that. Everybody does. I don't really care about pronouns. We have to respect their wants and their needs as far as respecting what they don't want to be called.
No, I think it runs back to
And it may be anti-cookie, but here's the thing: it's called human decency, right? If they don't want to be called cis, we just simply don't do that.
Okay, but what if trans women don't want to be called trans women? They just want to be called women.
And okay, objectively, right? They are not women. We are just trans women.
I would
Subjectively,
say they are women.
subjectively, we are in everyday today's society. We live and thrive as women.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is like imposter syndrome or something with you, Naomi. Like trans women or women, like you just said, in society, they operate and interact as women. You know, they are seen as women and they are
I've
women.
never changed and I've never said anything other than the same thing that I've been saying from day one, is that trans women are not women. We are simply just trans women.
Oh, that's so harmful. I hate hearing you say that, Naomi. Trans women
I understand that you hate embracing the fact that I'm a trans woman. I don't need to be a woman. I need to be a trans woman because that's my experience. And
Yeah, I
no
do
one
the
can
same
take that
thing.
experience away from me, right? I am not trying
women that they're doing wrong by being who they are and believing that they are.
I'm not saying that they're doing wrong. I'm just simply saying that why not, instead of saying blatantly outright that you're a woman, just say that you're a trans woman and live in that truth and live in the fact that you yourself are authentic. You are able to be a trans woman, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, but Naomi, I don't think trans women take anything away from women. Like, it's not a pie that you take womanhood away to gain your own.
You being a woman, Naomi, does not change my womanhood at all. Like,
This is why I say I think it's a degree of imposter syndrome where trans people are let's say like a trans woman says they're not a woman. Nurse,
I mean,
you're still connecting.
how's it going, everybody?
How you doing, Uncle
hello,
Bubba?
Uncle Bubba. Hi, Auntie Two Feather.
How you doing, Auntie
I
Cookie? Hey, Echo, how you doing?
Hey.
The only reason
I
I
just
came up, Echo, was because that one person was constantly misgendering you.
And the screwed up part is it even states it right next to your name, they, them.
Yeah.
And then on top, which if you're asking the host why they're overstepping you, and you come up on these panels, uh, they're the host. They're allowed to. Their moderators can interrupt at any point in time as well. If you're being disrespectful, expect to be overtalked by the host or the moderators. I'm not a moderator in this space, but what I am is a friend of Echoes, and I find it really disrespectful when people pop up here and misgender and disrespect the host in their own space.
Yeah, Auntie Feather, I love you. I usually will just address the misgendering of me myself, and I don't expect like others to. That's usually something I'll take on. I just sometimes it derails the conversation when I do
Yep.
it, so I just ignore it sometimes.
I
Yeah,
got you.
if I can address Naomi and what they were saying about holding the trans word as far as like being a trans woman, like
Yes.
the thing that I don't understand is why you want to hold your adjective as a trophy for harm and a struggle.
Because I don't let it be a crutch, right? Like it's not
It's
a
an adjective. That's
it
what
is
you're
not
using it
something that
as,
is
though.
going to harm me. I embrace it and I live in that truth, right?
But that is
If
using it
somebody
as a
has a
crutch.
question or wants to clock me or ask me if I'm trans, I'm going to tell them the truth, right? I'm going to say, yeah, I'm trans,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
can
going to
be proud
stand
of who
there
you
and
are.
say
The
I'm a
thing is, though, is
woman.
like I don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm a short woman." "Oh, I'm a short non-binary person."
But I'm not saying that I'm going out in every day-to-day worlds, you know what I mean, going up to people and saying that I'm a trans woman, right?
So
I'm
you
just
do see yourself as a woman, then?
no. So I've already made this distinction, right? I said objectively I am a trans woman. Subjectively, in a day-to-day world, I am perceived as a woman. I have said that from day one.
So wouldn't that mean
So
that the cis women are objectively cis women, but subjectively women?
No, because they just are women.
What is it with the fucking like? Why do you bend yourself in a pretzel? Like, do all trans women have to say that they're trans women, or can some choose to say that they're women?
I kind of understand what she's saying, though. Naomi, she her right?
I don't do pronouns, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
what do you mean you do pronouns?
I don't. I
Come
don't
on
think that
now.
they're
Have you
necessarily
been sitting over
necessary.
there with these GCs for so long that you really have lost your mind?
Echo.
So I'm just gonna use they them then. I hope that's okay.
I don't
Um,
care what you use, honestly. Thank you. I
okay.
appreciate that.
So with Naomi, I think you're getting two things mixed out. When we talk about trans women and cis women being cis, the difference between cis and trans is just a lived experience. I don't know if Echoes mentioned that, but that's usually Echoes go to. It's basically based on lived experience. So Auntie Water, as a cis woman, will have a very much different lived experience than I have as a trans woman. So it's just based on the lived experiences. There's nothing else. There's not really much that differentiates us otherwise.
You mean Auntie Cookie?
Besides Auntie Cookie, thank you, sorry.
I was real confused for a second.
That's right. That's right. It's a lived experience, right? And the thing is that people, women see trans women taking and trying to live the experience of a woman, right?
Can you tell me what that lived
Yeah,
experience
but
is?
they're not seeing that. They're imagining that.
Mm-hmm.
But in still, perception is reality,
Yeah,
right?
they're
Naomi,
not
can you
perceiving it.
differentiate?
They're imagining it.
Can you differentiate the two for me? What's the difference between a cis woman and a trans woman?
A woman is an adult human female. A trans woman is an adult human male that
Is that the
assimilates to be that of a woman.
so
Not
only sex?
always.
What, so only sex differentiate between the two? Naomi?
What? I'm sorry. What are you saying?
Is it only sex that differentiate between a cis woman and a trans woman?
I would say that it comes down to their anatomy. Yes, at that point.
So it's only sex.
Well, now she said just anatomy.
Well, that
Wait,
is sex.
can an
That's one
intersex
of.
person be a trans woman as well?
What's that?
Can an intersex person be a trans woman as well?
I would say
Oh
yes.
God, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Okay, we're not. I'm not even getting trapped into that because
Well,
we all
Naomi, it's
know.
not really a trap. We're trying to get you to understand the sciences and like how.
I understand, e-girl. I promise you, I 110% understand your
If you
science.
did, we wouldn't be having this
It's
No, no,
not
no, no, no,
conversation.
no,
our
no, 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 no,
This
science.
no,
is why
no.
I say like it's got to be some sort of imposter
It is
syndrome because I
not.
know
It is not. It is not. It is the fact that I see it differently than you see it, and that's okay,
You
right?
can't see
It's not.
facts two different ways.
I'm sorry, but it's not our science. It's the science.
Like it's not subjective, Naomi.
It's not something we came up
Everything is
with in the
subjective.
basement.
Everything is not
Oh,
subjective. 2
Jesus.
plus 2 equaling 4 is not subjective.
No, it's crazy talk.
I mean, to my son, it could be 8.
Oh, come on.
And he would be wrong.
Well, that's his
At this
subjective
point, it's a
reality.
circular.
No, that's not. That's just
Right.
incorrect. That's not fact. That is incorrect information.
But who made that?
Just like what you're saying.
Okay, so who
What do you
made that?
mean?
Made that
If you
rule,
have
right?
2 of something, and then you have 2 of something, and you put them together, it makes 4 of something.
But that's again.
No, that is a fact. You can't change it in any kind of way. It is not malleable.
Sorry, I got a phone call.
So Naomi,
You cannot change 2 plus 2 equaling 4. That does not change. It is a fact.
I
It is
mean,
not malleable.
I
Addition
can do
works
whatever I
this
want,
way, and that is
right?
it.
At that
No,
point,
you can't. That is
I
not how
could.
that works.
If a trans woman says that they are a woman, they are
they're
doing.
Yes, you
women.
can be a woman. Yes, absolutely.
But here's the thing: is
100%.
that's exactly what you're doing. Is you're changing it. So
Nothing's
No,
therefore,
being
I'm
changed,
not.
Naomi.
if you're saying
You're
2
trying
plus
to change
2 is
yourself. You're
4, I
trying
can
to
say
change
that's not
yourself to
true.
not be a woman.
2 plus 2 is 8. Down to my
Yes.
gonads. I am
Yes.
not. I
Because
am
you
a
have gonads,
trans
there are
woman.
women
I
that
was
have
born
gonads. That is
male.
a thing.
I will always be male.
I guess adjectives don't matter. So, like,
So
you
then you're
both
just a
are
cross
women.
dresser.
You're both
No,
women, but
Adjectives
you're a
no.
only
type
matter
of
when
Here's
it
the
woman.
comes
thing.
to
I am
trans
a
people.
trans woman because
No,
I'm
trans women are women.
no,
Yes,
no.
that is a fact. Trans is simply
Uncle
a prefix
Bubba,
to the
Uncle Bubba.
adjective that labels you
Listen,
as a trans woman. You are still a woman.
I
Well,
am not.
and you know, the harmful thing
Yes.
about it is when you espouse these things, you play into the radical right wing's hands, and excuse me,
But I'm not. But
they
here's the thing:
continue
is
to
I am
push
not
these.
going to
They,
sit here
they,
and
they
play into
then
the
say,
radical left
look,
hand
they
swing
then
either,
say,
because
they
this is
then
where we're
say,
having
Well,
why are you
good.
a
interrupting me?
disconnect.
Because
We're
what
Naomi,
having
they,
a
I'm not
because I
disconnect.
radical
was gonna
left.
say,
So
because
you can have a conversation
I
with
would
me
like to
then.
finish what I had started to say, because then they say, look, I know trans people and they think like this too. They think they're just men and they shouldn't be in women's spaces and they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. And all of a sudden, you've got all these bills outlawing trans people and utterly shoving them in the closet. You're harmful to your own community, Naomi.
I'm not
You
harmful
really
to
are.
anybody because there's more
Can
people that are rising up like myself that do not believe in this nonsense of being having to be called a woman because I have a dysphoria.
Okay,
can I
I'm just gonna
ask you a
ask you.
question?
Okay, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
But
Can I answer a question really quickly? Is the shape of the Earth subjective?
Are you
Yes or
serious?
no?
Are you
I mean,
Is
saying
the
it's a
shape
valid
of
question.
That's a good
it
one.
is
Based on
subjective?
your logic, it is a
Some
valid
people think it's
question.
flat. Some people think it's round.
That's not my
And the
question.
people
Is the
that think it's
shape of
flat
the
are incorrect.
Is it
Period.
subjective though?
But that's subjective.
No.
You think the shape of the Earth is subjective?
There's many people that do not believe the Earth is round. So
Wait,
therefore,
wait,
yes,
what?
it is
Can
subjective.
you define subjective?
So when you say something is
No, for
subjective,
real.
it
You
is
really
from your
gotta.
perspective, from
No.
your
Can you?
reality.
No.
What's the definition of subjective?
If you know it, you tell me. Because I just gave you
It
my
sub-
definition.
Subjective means dependent on human thought.
Okay. And many people have different thoughts on whether it is round or
Is the,
flat.
is the shape of the Earth dependent on human thought?
Yes, because who can
What?
Man, that would be a rocky ride, let me tell you.
So if I
The
think
tree
the
falls
Earth
in the
is a
woods. Does
triangle,
it make a
then it's a
noise?
triangle.
I mean it's subjective to the person's
Oh, wait.
eyes.
Red, I just changed the shape of the world. I thought it was ovular.
That's fucking ridiculous. I'm so sorry.
This is
That's
wild.
okay. You may think it's ridiculous, and that's okay.
It is. Did you not just
I
hear what I
do
said?
not
Oh, wait, I had
care
another thought. The
whether
world is
you
now
believe
square.
or don't believe what I believe is subjective. I don't.
Naomi, the way that you're
I
thinking about
came up here
subjective,
to
hold
just
on, hold on, hold on.
address
The
that
way that
man.
you're thinking
I
of
didn't come up
objective,
here to debate you guys.
subjective, is the fact that you think if I look at a square and I say it's a circle, it's now a circle.
If you want it to be a circle, go ahead, let it be a circle.
Naomi, I just have a simple
That's
question.
not how the world works. That is not reality, Naomi.
And you're proving my point.
Naomi,
Could you
what makes you a
imagine trying to
woman?
fucking communicate if we didn't
Actually, you're
have
proving mine.
actual
No,
subjective
no, no, no. You're
reality?
proving mine because you're saying you are saying exactly what
Ophelia, I'm going to
I've been
rotate you
saying
out for
all
something real
along,
quick.
right? You're saying that you can't change things just because of your own reality, right? I
I am.
am a
And this
trans
is where you're about to
woman.
run into the
I
wall.
am
You are a
a
woman.
male.
Can
You
I
are a
can
woman
I say
You
that was
cannot
something?
assigned
change
male at
that
birth.
just because of the fact that you want that to be.
But you said
You
everything
are
is
a woman
subjective.
that was assigned male at birth.
Wait, hold up. She said everything is subjective, so what? I don't see what the problem is with that.
Yeah, so Naomi, here's the difference.
Thank you,
When
Atlantic.
you
I
make
appreciate
something
that.
Oh
subjective,
my
No,
you're
I'm
god.
pretty much
saying that
implying
you
that
are
this is something
saying
that we can make up.
oh my
This is
god.
not something that we make up. What we have here as trans women and as trans people is based on empirical evidence coming from scientific studies. Do you know what empirical evidence is?
Yes, my dear.
Okay, what's the difference between empirical evidence and something that is just subjective?
That it has proof behind it.
Not just proof, it is a something that is observable and verifiable that can be tested over and over and over again and still get the same results. So you by saying that trans women, that our reality is subjective, makes it sound like that we're making it up. And I can get where you're coming from. I used to be a Blair White follower. I used to be a Buck Angel follower. I was even one of the board members of TAG, which was a sister organization of GAG. And it took a lot of education and me learning where I was actually causing harm to my community. And a lot of that came down to understanding ourselves. So, with that being said, you are causing harm to our community just by saying that. Now, I'm kind of curious if you know what it is that actually makes you, as a trans woman, tick. What does the term transgender mean?
The opposite side of.
Okay,
That's
you're on
not what
the
transgender
right
means.
track. Okay,
That's
awesome.
not what
Now,
transgender means.
next, do you understand that there is a difference between sex and gender?
No, they. Nope. Nope. There's no
Okay,
difference.
nope. There is a difference, and this is coming from the APA, the WHO, and every other single major health organization out there. The key difference is sex is generally a biological construct rooted in anatomy and chromosomes, although intersex conditions complicate this distinction. Gender, on the other hand, is a biopsychosocial schema, which means you have to have all three, which is shaped by personal identity and cultural influences. This can vary widely across different societies and time periods. So, bio relates to brain structure and hormones. Psycho, who it relates to how the brain is structured and recognizes itself. Social, whole is the social and cultural influences. And again, that can vary depending on what time period and the place that you live in is from. So, with that being said, sex relates to male, female, intersex. Gender relates to man, woman, boy, girl, non binary, two spirited, etc. Does that make sense?
Look, Alyssa, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Okay? I
No,
appreciate
because
what
I
you.
am rooted in
No.
actual scientific
Listen,
grounding.
I let you go on your rant. Listen, I appreciate what every single one of you are trying to do. I used to be like you guys, and that's okay, right? I used to be on that trans women are women side, 100%. I don't see things the way you see them, and that's okay.
This isn't just how we
Hey,
see them, though. This is what science says.
hey. Okay, I can appreciate how you guys see the world, and I am okay with you guys seeing it the way that you want to see it. I'm not here to debate you. That's not what I was here to do. I came up because somebody said that they were in the US and they had freedom of speech. That's the only reason I came up here. I didn't come up here to debate you guys. I didn't come up here to have a conversation with. I just simply wanted to put that guy in his place because he was not just in the United States on this app.
Okay.
Naomi, I will
Okay?
tell you that.
Here's my
Hold
contention,
on,
though, Naomi, is
hold
that
on,
our community,
Alyssa, hold
especially
on.
here. Sorry, Echo.
Okay. The way my lives usually go is I throw a background up, we start a conversation, then whatever route that goes and it evolves into, I let it go. If it's a completely different topic, we have those conversations.
And that's
I
great.
also want to just remind the panelists and everybody watching, we're not going to change views and opinions in a matter of like a few words or a few sentences or even one live. Undoing damage done by gender critical transphobes does take time.
Yep.
I just have a simple
And
question for Naomi. Naomi, what makes you a trans woman?
Your
Listen,
infidelity.
again, I'm not here to debate this. That's not what I was here for. Respectfully, I love the fact that you guys
I'm
believe in
just
something.
curious. Like, if
No,
you're saying trans women are
I'm
not
telling
women,
you, I am not doing this. Okay? I respect you,
Echo, I want fun buttons.
right? I respect you, and I respect the fact that you guys believe the way you believe. And
okay, and
that's
I'm trying to
great.
understand why you believe what you believe. Can you just help me
I
understand?
don't need you to, and here's the thing though, girl, I don't need you to understand what I believe and why I believe it, right? I just simply do.
Okay,
real
so then
quick,
why do you
so
taking your time to um dismiss other trans women by not calling them women? Right.
I
So
believe in what I believe in, and
okay.
you believe in what you believe in. I say
Right.
let them, right?
So, but when
Let
I
them
say that,
believe in whatever they
wait,
want
wait,
to believe in.
Naomi.
Let me believe in what I want to believe in. And then at the end of the day, that's where we are.
It just sounds
Naomi.
like it
Here's
just
my
sounds like
contention,
you're
though, Naomi.
obtuse.
Here's my contention.
Yeah, exactly.
At this
Especially
point,
here
yes, I
in the
am being
United
obtuse because
States.
I do not
Na-
care enough
can I
to
speak,
have this
please?
conversation any longer.
Okay.
I would like to hear from
Here's my
Atlantic
contention.
here soon.
So
I was
here in
trying
the
to speak,
United
but I keep getting
States,
cut
our
off.
rights are literally at risk, and we do not just believe in this. This is something that is empirical fact and evidence based by every major scientific and medical organization out there. And so when you go out there and you say that this is a belief that you guys can believe in whatever you want to
Well,
believe in, I'll believe in whatever I want to believe in, you're causing damage to our community. And again, I used to be on your side. I really did, but I caused a lot of damage when I was on that side. And if you want to be on the side that's going to try and strip yourself of your rights and your ability to be able to live freely in the world without worry about being discriminated against, without worry about having your medical needs taken care of, without worry about you being able to marry and love whoever it is that you want to love, that is going to be on you. But again, I was on that side and I caused enough damage, and I am trying to backpedal hard right now because I see that damage and I am now educated in what makes us tick as transgender people, and that has helped my empathy and has helped me as a human being. And I will not stand for misinformation, the same misinformation that I was putting out there at one point, to stand. So we can have a actual academic argument right now and help educate people, especially people who are watching this channel,
Alyssa, but
or
here's the
we can
Yeah.
thing
argue
that
about
Can I
belief.
I'm not
speak now?
having an argument with
Can
you.
I
That's
speak
the whole
now?
thing. Yes, Atlantic, I apologize.
Okay, well, Alyssa, you're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. Because you criticize Naomi for saying it's subjective, then use the APA to define gender. The APA defines gender as a social construct. What is a
Social
social
constructs are
construct?
No, it
subjective.
defines it as a biopsychosocial
No,
schema,
it doesn't.
not just a construct.
No, it doesn't.
You know, I
No, it doesn't.
never in my life, Atlantic, would have thought that I
Hold
would.
up, Naomi. Hold up. It doesn't define gender that way. It defines it as a social construct. What is a social construct, Alyssa? Is that
Okay.
is that man-made or does it exist in objective reality?
Again, that is you trying to nitpick at just one part of that.
No, no,
And
no,
again,
no, 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 no. You have
I'm
to
going
answer my
on
question.
more than just
Alyssa, Alyssa, answer
than
my
the
question.
APA.
You're deflecting. You're
Okay.
deflecting. What is a social construct? And is a social construct mind dependent or mind independent?
You guys are going to cause so much damage. If you guys are trans women, I am so
That's
sorry.
a
No, like
lovely
Alyssa, even
deflection.
I understand like social contract and constructs are subjective, and I've even said in the past, trans women are women and trans women are trans women. It depends on the society that you operate in.
Exactly. It's
Right, but you're
it depends on
criticizing.
the social and cultural influences
That's
of
Oh
that
my
society,
god, would you
but
just
that's
like to
I'm
hear
more
yourself
focused
talk?
on the science of what makes us tick as trans women. When we
yeah, a
focus
social
on
construct
those
is what you're
social
saying.
influences, we're
Right, a social
negating the
construct.
science that makes us tick.
Right, so
Does
so
anybody else
society.
believe that
Hold
this
up a
person just
second.
likes to hear
So
themselves talk?
society made us fucking trans, is what you're saying.
No. I
No.
am saying that our biological, psychological, and social logical structures
What's
in
the
our
biological
brain
part? What's the
is what makes
biological
us.
part? What's the biological part?
Okay, so if we want to talk biology, we can definitely
No,
do
no,
that. We
no.
can
I'm just
talk about
asking you.
science.
Listen, stop. I want you to tell me what the biological part is. What's the biological part?
The biological part, when we are talking about gender, relates to the brain.
So then it's biological.
Yes.
So why are you saying it's socially constructed?
You are nitpicking at one single thing I said. I said biopsychosocial.
Right, but the
Stop
APA does
nitpicking. I
not
look at.
define it that way.
Okay, you are looking at pixels on a TV screen when I am looking at the
Send
bigger
me the
picture.
source of the APA that defines it as a biopsychosocial. Send it to me.
It's not just the APA. I look at
No,
multiple
you said that the
sources.
APA said that. I want you to send me the source where the APA says that.
Give me one sec, because I am on my phone. I am not at my computer.
You know, Atlantic, I want to say this to you. In the past, you and I have not always seen eye to eye.
Naomi, I don't like you either. Okay, so don't.
No. I'm trying to be
stop. Don't
kind to you. I'm trying to be kind to you. Okay.
You up here is not understanding what an adjective is. Like, come on now, let's be for real.
And I'm not debating that. I just sat up here and said I wasn't trying to even have this argument. I'm saying to you, I appreciate where you're coming from at this point. And for that, I thank you and I respect you.
I just don't like hypocrisy because this person is scolding you for the very thing that they're doing.
Well, we're having this discussion in the first place. Let's make this very clear. Because when we had some people up here who were opposition, Naomi wanted to argue that cis women, they're just women and they don't need to be called cis, and some of the stuff that you threw over on the GC side of it. So
let's be real. What I said was, if we want them to respect our pronouns, should we not respect their wishes and not call them cis if they don't want to be called cis?
No, we're not.
That's what I was saying. I was saying it from a humanistic point of view, not from a scientific point of view. That's exactly what I was saying.
That's not one-to-one. Naomi, that's not one-to-one, because that's like me saying, don't call them cis, right? And they don't respect it. It doesn't mean like to misgender you. Like the proportional thing will be that I'm gonna call you trans, even if you don't want to. But that's like one-to-one.
I also think there was a misinterpretation of what it was I was saying. Again, I was bringing a whole bunch of different academic studies of what says
stop. No, you weren't. You said the APA says this multiple times.
The APA and the WHO and every other single major medical organization out there.
Does not say that. It says it's a social construct.
That's part of what the APA says, but you also gotta look at
Alyssa, stop lying, because I read these things all the time. It does not say biopsychosocial. You lied. You gave misinformation.
Can we focus on the actual science?
No, we're not going to focus on the actual science because you just lied about the science.
No, I gave you a combination of... Okay, I can give you the medical and scientific endorsements of the people who actually support us as trans women. That gives us our grounding for our rights.
That's different than what you were saying,
You
Alyssa.
are deflecting. Stop deflecting. Real slick of you. You explicitly said the APA and the WHO says gender is a biopsychosocial. It doesn't say that. It says it's just a social construct. And social constructs are man-made concepts, meaning they're subjective.
Okay, so you just choose to be trans?
According to you, yeah.
No. Because I'm backing myself up with all the other major evidence out there. There are actual psychological evidence that shows us of why we tick the way that we do. When you hyperfixate on just one part of that, that is what you guys are
still gonna try and gaslight the fuck out of everybody in here? Is that what you're gonna do? 'Cause it's not gonna work. You said, first of all, this is the shit that's bothering me. You sat there and chewed Naomi up for saying that this shit is subjective, while you're there lying about what the APA and the WHO is saying in the first place, right? It's also subjective according to your sources. So based off your logic, society made us fucking trans.
No, because they also have sources of the actual whole biological and psychological fixed traits that make us tick.
The APA and listen to me, Alyssa. Alyssa, listen to me. The APA, WHO defines gender as a social construct. It doesn't say anything about biology. That's why when I asked you to give me a source, you were like, oh shit, I fucked up. And are you trying to gaslight the shit out of everybody? While you're scolding Naomi for the same thing that you're doing, spreading misinformation.
No. And again, I said the APA, the WHO, and every other single major medical organization. I said that verbatim because I'm reading that directly from a compilation of studies that I've put together. So you're actually the one gaslighting me. You're cherry picking one single thing that I said.
Echo, this person is a gaslighter. I'm not talking to you anymore. You have a fragile ego too, because you can't even admit the fact that you were lying about the shit that you said.
No, because I look at everything as the bigger picture. I don't look at pixels on a TV screen.
I'm sorry, the APA, WHO does not say biopsychosocial. It strictly says social construct. You're looking at something else. Something else besides the WHO or APA. They don't say that.
Put it up on the background, Alyssa.
Mira, I'm gonna drop because okay, what does that say? Put it on the big screen.
I am. I had to set it to my phone, so you were my paste
Socially constructed roles, behaviors, and activities.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay, I know Echo now. Echo is a GC. Okay, I'm out.
I'm a GC. No.
Oh! No, I've heard of you across other lives. You are not a safe person, but you guys are causing damage to our community.
You're so delusional.
Wait.
I am not delusional.
Read the background from the APA. Read it.
I'm a GC, guys.
Yeah, that is just one of the fucking definitions I gave you.
No,
Alyssa, you're delusional.
You said that the APA alongside WHO.
Okay, so you're going to negate all the other science that has our backs.
Sorry, I was just confused because I kept getting two different answers from APA. I don't know what.
Yeah, I went into their definitions, the actual definitions on their website, and pulled up gender, and that's where I got the one listed.
Okay, you should.
Okay, because I looked up specifically APA gender.
But looking at all the other biological components that are within that as well, along with
because the APA is saying two different things.
It's conflicted.
Let me ask you another question, Alyssa. Do you think that drag queens are gender?
Wait, sorry, but look on the definition. It does say gender implies the psychological, behavioral, social, and cultural aspects of gender.
Okay,
so
do you know what else biopsychosocial? The APA reaffirms its support for gender-affirming care,
it doesn't say
emphasizing its role in promoting optimal physical, mental, and social well-being for transgender and gender diverse youth.
Hold up a second, stop. She said biopsychosocial.
But isn't psychological part of biology? Sorry, I'm just trying to get clarification.
So biopsychosocial is different than psychosocial.
Okay, how do you explain the psychological findings that they found during their studies? How do you explain how we are the way that we are? Because you are wanting to turn this into singularly a social construct of which completely throws our rights out the doors. It throws the science out the doors.
Religion is...
Say that again?
Religion is psychosocial.
I haven't seen any actual psychological findings.
Do you know what a psychological schema is? Alyssa,
this is not a religion.
What's a psychological schema?
how the brain operates, how it interprets its surroundings and itself?
No, it's just basically a mental framework that you live by.
Oh my gosh.
That's what a psychological schema is.
Are you transatlantic or are you a GC?
Why does that matter if I'm trans or not? You would be deflecting all over the place.
No, because I want to know if you're actually here to fight for the community or to cause harm.
You're causing harm.
No, I am not.
You're spreading
Because
misinformation.
again, you are hyperfixating on pixels instead of looking at the bigger picture.
Right. I hyperfixating on the fact that you lied about the sources.
I did not lie.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Atlantic has been fighting for trans rights long before you come along. So, remember when she said she hated me? It's because her and I used to go back and forth because, well, we used to be on the opposite sides completely, which I don't necessarily think we totally are. I think we agree on a lot of things. We just see different things differently. But you come in here and are acting like you're high and mighty, and you don't actually have the facts to back you up. You are gaslighting everyone in here. You just called Echo a GC, which you have no idea what Echo actually is, because if you actually did know what Echo is, you would understand that Echo is fighting for your same damn rights that you're fighting for. So get a life, get a grip on reality, and take your little high and mighty down a notch, okay? Because that's not where you need to be. Learn a little bit more, okay? Thanks.
Yeah.
NIH, brain sex differences related to gender identity, development, genes, or hormones. There's some
I've told this to multiple people. You have a very surface level argument. You have a very surface level argument that, like, you're only looking at things on the top layer and you're not diving deeper into it and understanding it.
I literally have a 120-page document of compilations.
Just because you sit here and talk in a monotone voice doesn't make you smarter than anybody else on this panel.
You guys are oversimplifying what it is, and if we oversimplify what it is to be trans and to be
If
us,
we oversimplify what it is, we would be like here all day, okay?
Wait, Alyssa.
I don't care if we're here all day.
Alyssa, what is one of your sources on your compilation document?
Okay.
Just to be clear, any ableism on my panel towards Red or anybody gets dropped and muted. You're gone.
Right.
Not a fan of the monotone voice comment because I have a monotone voice.
Yeah, bottom line is this: a psychological schema is just mental frameworks that you develop. That's your beliefs, whatever, based off the experience. That's what that is. A psychological schema, or like a psychosocial schema, is different than a biopsychosocial schema.
I just think of a psychological schema. The way that sorry.
Go ahead,
What
Red.
was the source?
Okay, so
I was just gonna say the way that
let me start off by giving you the medical.
Hold on, listen, I want Red to be able to finish what they're saying because they haven't spoken much.
Sorry.
And then you can go.
I vision a psychological schema is, you know how in an office you have like a filing cabinet and then you have all those like separate like files, like the ones that are different colors. That's how I envision it. I was like, you put Go, Alyssa.
Okay. Can I give you guys some of the medical and scientific endorsements?
If I may, very quickly before you do that, I'm sorry. I have a quick question for Atlantic.
Yes.
Atlantic, with the psychosocial schema argument, wouldn't that make cross-dressers also trans?
No, it wouldn't, because there's no biological evidence for cross-dressers.
No, I'm talking about with your
That's
argument.
Atlantic, right?
Atlantic, yeah.
The issue with the psychological schema thing is that you're not born with psychological schemas. You develop psychological schemas based off what they teach you in your environment.
That's
Right.
part of it.
So,
So, Atlantic, what are you arguing?
if
Like,
these
are you
things are
arguing that it's just bio is social, or are
They're
you?
arguing that it's strictly
Well, I
social.
would like to hear from Atlantic.
I'm
Thank
not. I
you.
never said it's strictly social. You said that.
No, I don't.
Yes, you
Oh,
did.
I
I
said
want to hear the
biopsych.
answer from Atlantic.
Because if it's bio, right, the root cause is bio. Why are we talking about social? That's what
Because you need all three.
brought up. It has to meet all three.
Ooh.
For gender, yes.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I don't think that's the case because we have like masculine presenting women, we have feminine presenting men, we have like androgynous people. Like, I don't think you have to present socially as a specific
Right.
gender to
I
be
don't
Exactly.
that
think
gender.
Mm-hmm.
anyone does.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
like the social norm is for women to be feminine, men to be masculine. So like that would kind of
Depending on the
put people in
society and
a
time period
specific
you're in.
box.
That's exactly what I'm
What?
saying. It's either bio or it's social. You can't say it's bio
It's all
social
three.
because that makes no sense.
It's all three.
It cannot be all three because that's the case. A lot of people are trans.
Alyssa, can I ask you where you got your degree at?
You don't
All
gotta just rest on
three.
paper.
I'm just an independent researcher.
Oh,
You don't
okay.
have to have all three aspects to be
Are you
trans, though,
trans?
because
Yes, I am trans.
Okay.
I don't think people have to have all three to be trans, though, because some people don't even like. They're just kind of the way that they've always been.
You
Like
don't
nothing
believe that
really
trans
changes
women
about them.
exist that don't conform to societal gender roles?
Yeah,
So that you
that's
don't have to have all three.
yeah. I think that's what Atlanta's trying to say. It's not like a necessary characteristic to have all three.
Trans
I
literally
think I think
means
those
there's
factors
an
can
incongruence
I think
between your
those
gender and
factors
your
can all
sex.
be in a trans person, but I don't think I don't know. I'm just trying to like figure out what everybody's saying before I like.
So what I'm saying is this, right? This person, Alyssa, scrutinize Naomi for saying everything is subjective. While and spreading misinformation while she's doing the same thing.
Because there's empirical evidence that backs us up as trans women that it's not subjective.
You said the APA, WHO says something that it doesn't.
No, I said the APA, WHO,
Oh,
and
that's
every
exactly what you said.
organization
You
Hey,
said the
contradicted
Alyssa.
me again.
APA says is biopsychosocial. The WHO says that it doesn't say that. It those two
Yeah, because
organizations.
we're looking at
Hold up a
beyond just
second.
the
Those two
definition. We're going
organizations
into
says
the
it's a
studies at
social.
this point.
Alyssa, stop talking
Alyssa,
over her. Let her finish. God, have some manners.
both these organizations, whatever, they clearly say is a social construct.
Okay, so would you be up for your medications as a trans woman being taken away because you're trying to get rid?
That is a complete non sequitur.
Alyssa.
That's completely different.
Alyssa. I don't think anyone is disagreeing that there is scientific evidence behind being trans. That's
Yeah,
not
so
the
but that
argument. It's
evidence is
just,
going to be
wait,
rooted
hang on.
in the
Hold on,
psychological and the
Alyssa.
biological
Alyssa,
aspects.
hold on. Red, please go
That
ahead.
I don't think that's what Atlantic is trying to get at. It's purely just criticizing the fact that you said the APA mentions a biopsychosocial. That's it. I don't think anyone here thinks there isn't scientific evidence behind being trans.
Okay, what is that evidence in then?
I also want to add that like it gender has to be a social construct, like gender roles and all that, because even if you think about like several years, like decades ago, the colors for boys and girls, just babies, switched. It used to be pink for boys and now it's blue for boys. Like all that stuff, people see gender differently in different cultures. So trans people likely are going to look different across cultures because of their like own ideas of gender. So it kind of has to be like you're not going to see the same, like there's going to be patterns of
Yeah,
how
and
people
I
present
actually agree with
themselves.
you
That
right there.
same principle applies to
That's
cis
what
women.
Atlantic is trying to say, I think.
Right. That same principle applies to cis women. Every culture has their own version of what a gender role for a woman is, for a man, or whatever the case may be. That's
Yeah,
not
because
what
like
makes somebody
That is
freaking
focusing
trans,
on the
though.
sociological sciences of all this,
You said gender was biopsychosocial.
of which I still stand by that because there's actual
Well, you're
articles that
standing
state that
by
there's
nonsense
biological
there,
and
sister.
sociological
So
evidence for
how can
that.
your gender be rooted in biology but also in sociology?
Hmm.
Explain that to me.
Because when we're talking about biology, when it comes to gender, we're talking about the structure of the brain and how the brain is formed. And then psychologically is how the brain recognizes itself, which as trans women makes sense because that is often where the incongruence between our gender and our sex comes from, which gives us medical backing for us to be able to seek the medications that we need. Saying that it is purely sociological, that is what
That's not what I
gender
asked you,
criticals
and that's
love
not what I
to
said.
Mother.
Alyssa,
disassociate.
that's not what I
Can
asked
I
you. That's not
finish?
what I said. Alyssa, that's not what I
Cece,
I
asked you.
promise I'm landing my plane.
Cece,
Your
are you
plane
there?
is in the wrong place. That's not what I asked you.
Baby, you're playing with the Guadalajara, honey.
I'm asking you this. How can someone's gender be rooted in biology but also in sociology? Can somebody have those brain structures without the sociology part?
No, because they need all three.
So you cannot have the brain structure without the sociology.
It's more than
When
just
does this
brain
brain, one
structure.
second, when does this
It's more
brain
than just
structure
brain
thing,
structure. It's how
Alyssa,
the brain recognizes itself.
Alyssa, when does this brain structure happen? At what point of development does this brain structure develop? Is it after you're socialized or before you're socialized?
So,
So it's before and after?
Yes, because we are not born.
Oh my
We
Jesus,
we
Lord and
we
man.
are born.
You're not born trans or cis, is what you were gonna say?
No, we are born trans or cis.
So then it happens
Okay.
before socialization, right?
Both take place.
Answer my question, Alyssa. Does it happen before socialization or after?
Both in the womb, and then when you come out,
So
as
it's
you're being
before.
influenced by
So
the
it's
external
before.
pressures of society, that is when the sociological elements take place.
Do you see how
As a
this
lot of
person is
us
being like
know,
extremely
like,
disingenuous?
especially those with us
Yes,
who have
totally.
severe bottom
Totally being
dysphoria.
disingenuous.
No, you guys are disingenuous.
Alyssa, can I
no,
ask
Alyssa,
you a
I
question?
got a question. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can I ask Alyssa a question real quick?
Go for it.
Do you think that, like, because I keep hearing the same aspect of your talking point where you're asking, like, well, you keep mentioning, like, gender dysphoria and, like, transitioning specifically. Do you think that trans people have to transition and have, like, severe dysphoria and need, like, to transition in order to be trans?
No, because being trans just refers to there being a incongruence, where
Oh,
dysphoria
okay.
comes from when there becomes a distress within that incongruence.
Ooh. So, Alyssa,
Okay.
you feel like okay? So let me ask you a question. So, if someone tells you they're trans, you don't believe them unless what? Are you a trans medicalist? Is that what I'm understanding? Right?
No, not at all.
Okay. So, for you to step here and not, so you're saying that some people aren't trans and this and that. And you, was that
No, because again, as I mentioned earlier, transgender people just simply have a incongruence between their gender and their sex.
you know?
Then from that incongruence, if it is a severe distress that caused by that incongruence, that is where the dysphoria comes from.
Celeste, do you mind if I let you down for another trans person?
I'm also trans. Okay.
Cece, I'm
Okay.
just so
Sorry.
baffled
I
by
didn't know.
this. Like,
Celeste.
Okay.
how does this
I
person?
told didn't say that
Thank
you
you,
weren't
Auntie.
trans, Celeste. They said for another trans person.
Y'all know
I thought
I
they were
just like
referring
to
to
keep
this.
it
Echo,
relative.
Echo.
I don't
Feel
understand
free
how
to drop
people.
me at any time for a
I
I
just
don't.
like
trans
to keep the
person.
conversation and panelists relative to people in the community that we're talking about. So thank you, Auntie Cookie.
Yeah, so feel free
Auntie.
to drop me at any
Okay.
time.
I just don't understand. Justine, have you been listening to what Alyssa's been saying?
Yeah, no, this is so Alyssa's not. It would behoove her to also say that something in the brain, you can have something in the brain and be asymptomatic still too. So just because the brain has something or it has the potential to act upon something doesn't necessarily like mean it'll manifest behavior that way too. That's why someone can
I actually
that's why
agree
we have
with
the whole
that.
rhetoric of you can be trans, right? But still like keep it in or like suppress it enough like throughout your life. Like you might have symptoms of it a little bit, you might not have any symptoms of it, but like you're still have it and you have it for the rest of your life too, right? Like we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. But
So I would say
they said that the APA and WHO defines gender as a biopsychosocial schema, and it's like no, it doesn't.
oh
Again,
yeah,
when
no,
you look
they
into
just
their
use the
research
psychosocial
and
rhetoric at the
everything
moment.
else that they are saying, that is pretty much what it is that they are saying.
Well, they kind of hint at it a little bit. They don't overtly say it's biopsychosocial, and that's because the APA really tries to get away from pathologizing behaviors, because then it turns into like a big litmus test of like, okay, well, someone like exhibits the signs of having dementia, but their brain doesn't look like a dementia brain at all, too. Does that mean we can code them and give them treatment for dementia? Insurance companies would say no because there is no overt signs that they have dementia besides the behavior. Obviously, they're faking it. We're not going to cover them for that. So that's kind of why the APA takes a step back from that kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
So both of you are arguing the same side of, or different sides of the same coin. It's just a little different how you put your argument together, Alyssa. Like Ruby does agree with you on a core level. It's just that there's a little bit more of a bioessentialist view coming from her side than yours, and there's nothing wrong with that really. Like it's still valid.
Yeah, so again, pretty much what I stand on is that if we are going to fight for our rights and for society and for medicine to have our side, we can't be hyper fixating on pixels of a TV screen. We've got to be looking at the entire picture, the big picture, of which that involves going into all the different studies, all the evidence, especially the empirical evidence that gives us a standing for us to fight for our rights. Because one thing that gender criticals love to do is hyperfixate on the social aspects of being trans, and then from there they can be all like, oh, well, then you're just misogynistic at that point. Because then they can be all like, okay, tell me what it is
Don't
that
necessarily think that you're saying this
society
correctly,
says.
and you're
But now,
accurately depicting what gender criticals are saying, right? I think that what you are villainizing them completely in the wrong way, because gender criticals are not necessary. Not all gender criticals. I'm not going to say all of them are not, but not all of them are. Like making it a thing for and saying that we have to be this way and that we're encroaching on their rights this way or that way. I think what they are saying, since I have spent a majority of my time with them, is that prior to 2012, right, we did not have an issue. And I think Cece can back me up on this. We had mothers that taught us how to navigate the world
indeed.
as transsexuals and transgender people, right? And we have allowed it to stray away from that. And that's why we are now getting the wrath that has become the GC movement.
I would actually disagree with that because, again, I came from
But
that
no,
side
I'm
of
going
the
to tell you
fence.
something. Hold on, hold on. How old are you, Alyssa? Alyssa, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay, great. And I'm not doing an ages thing, right? But I've walked this road for over 30 years, right? Um, we've already fought. The trans elders. We've already fought our fight. We've cleared several paths and roads for you, younger generation. Now it's up to y'all whether or not y'all fucked it up, right? That's on y'all. What Naomi is saying is very true because when you had trans mothers before there was the internet and people could run to things and Google everything or how to do this and how to do that before, when there was trans mothers, there's a valid point to that. Yes, some of them were toxic. However, they still taught you how to walk and act in society, and I
And
think
it
it's a loss of that.
and it was all about blending in and assimilating and
Society.
in society. We were going along with societal norms because that was
Yeah,
the
and
whole
to be
point,
clear,
was to
I'm
blend
very much
in.
against going along with societal norms. So
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just making my stance clear that I'm against going along with like
I know you are, and
societal norms
that's
and having
quite
that class.
okay. Echo, you and I are
Mhm.
we're kosher. I don't fight you on your stance because
Yeah.
I know where you stand, and you know where I stand, and I'm not,
Yep.
gonna argue that.
I love Echo. I support you, Echo. Just so you know, but I mean, there was a time when there wasn't a lot of things out there
Mhm.
that were, in my experience, you were
Right.
trans, you were trans. There was no. I guess maybe they were, but maybe they were called something else. Like gender fluid people and stuff like that. Maybe that's what it was, but I don't remember recalling. Like,
I thought it was always androgynous. To be very
Well, I
honest, I
mean,
thought
I
that's
mean,
what it
not
was
all
called.
gender non-conforming people are trans, but all trans people are gender non-conforming, right? And I think maybe that is a little bit of where this battle lies, right? Just because like there are a handful of us that have gone through surgeries, that have gone through the path, or are binary in our transness. But the fact is, we do know that non-binary or gender non-conforming people that are trans have existed just as long as trans people have
I
in
agree with that.
society. Sure, they have, but they haven't. You know,
But Naomi, they aren't the same as someone who has medically and socially transitioned in the same path as you. And nobody is saying that, right?
Listen, if we cannot even fucking agree on shit and we're part of this community, whatever, just imagine people outside of it.
that's exactly what I've
Because
been
this
saying.
crap is not making any fucking sense. None of it is making sense. None of it.
We all have our opinions, right? And what do they say about opinions? They're like assholes. Everybody's got
Well,
one.
people are clear on what like homosexuality is, on even what intersex is. People have like a pretty decent understanding what intersex is too. But when it comes to trans, it's like they don't know what this shit is. We don't know what this shit is because look at us, you're fighting about this shit.
yeah, but Atlantic. I mean, I don't know how you're a more seasoned woman, right? I mean, in the same sense too. Back in the day, I don't. It's a different maneuver, right? And I'm proud of the younger generation for clearing their own way. Do I think everything needs to be pushed up into the trans umbrella? No, I don't. But I think everything is valid in its own space, and that's where I'm going to stand on that.
Well, here's the thing. People have to understand something. It has to make sense for them to be like, okay, if it doesn't make sense to people,
Mm-hmm.
they're just gonna dismiss it like, I don't, what the fuck is this shit? They're not gonna care about it.
That's true.
So you can say valid this, valid that. Most people don't think that way. They don't understand this shit. We don't understand this shit, and we're part of this fucking community ourselves.
Well, have you guys actually looked
This one is
into like
saying,
all the
wait
other
one
medical
second.
research
He's
and
saying,
everything that makes us
Alexa,
tick?
I'm not finished. Alexa's saying it's biopsychosocial. Somebody else, it is socially constructed. No, it's bio. No, it's this. No, it's that. What the fuck is it then?
It's all three.
According to you, somebody's gonna say
Yeah.
something else.
Also, from the books you read,
No,
it's all free, right?
when you
But
actually dive
you
into
can't tell
the
people about
actual,
their lived experience. People who have lived an experience for a very long time, you can't tell them what they've lived and what they have and what they are and who they are.
Right.
I mean,
not
nice
telling
try,
me
but
anything.
girl, anywho.
Okay, what I am saying is that when you start diving into the actual academic literature to understand yourselves better, then it does start to make sense. And especially when you start to realize that, yes, they are indeed saying that there are biological elements, psychological elements, and sociological elements that make us who we are. It makes so much more sense of what makes you tick, and then you can
Alyssa, but
go
that's true
out
for
and be
everybody
able to
else.
advocate for you.
Yeah.
So you need a
Wait,
book to tell you who you are?
y'all
Alyssa,
are
that's true for
arguing
everyone
slightly
else.
different points though. Y'all are arguing two different points. Alyssa, you're arguing that there's biological elements, psychological elements, and social elements to being trans, but Atlantic's arguing that like
It's only
the
social.
elements of gender are like gender itself as a concept are socially constructed. You're arguing two different things.
What I'm saying is this. What you are talking about, Alyssa, applies to cis people just the same. Because cis people also have a
I agree with
gender.
you.
Right, so then what the fuck is trans? What is
What
it?
is trans? The actual definition, a person whose
Okay, give
gender
me a
is incongruent
definition.
from their
Don't give me a
sex.
Atlantic, you know
definition.
the answer to that. Alyssa, you should say the definition though. Difference between cis people and trans people.
Okay, cis people and trans people. So trans people have a incongruence between their sex and their gender, where cis people, they are congruent with
And
their
gender is
gender and their
what?
sex.
And gender is what?
Gender is a biopsychosocial, so there are biological elements, psychological elements, and sociological elements all align with that of being cisgendered.
Alyssa, gender. Okay, so according to the NAS in medical research studies, right, gender is the self-representation of male or female, or how social institutions respond based off of presentation. So that is everything that really encompasses gender, because it talks about both gender identity and gender expression and that self-representation part. And it talks about social norms and expectations and how social institutions respond. So when we look at gender that way, that includes both cis people and trans people. That really encompasses everyone from a gender aspect, trans and cis.
And I would agree with you there. Again, I used to argue on the same exact standpoints that a lot of you guys are right now. But the thing with that is, especially when you have gender criticals come in, then they can start tearing that to shreds, because then they can be all like, well, then you are pretending to be a woman. Then you are her trying to
But
be
in reality,
misogynistic.
Alyssa, what you're doing is moving the goalpost further and further back so
No,
that
I'm
it
not
becomes
the same goalposts. Let's
obscured
just keep
so that people
hyperfixating on
cannot
one part of the
Yeah,
define
just
brain.
let her
or
finish, babes.
differentiate between the two, right? And that is the where my issue been been since day one, is that we keep moving this goalpost back and back and back, and there's no differentiation between the two, and you cannot completely concretely define it like Atlantic has been saying. So therefore, bro, like it's just like chill out with this nonsense.
Yeah, the definition that Mars gave is a different definition than Alyssa gave. So it's like, yeah, we got two different definitions of gender contesting with each other now.
Yeah,
And this goes back
because
to what
across
I
different.
wasn't even finished fucking speaking, bro. Now we got two different definitions of gender contesting with each other. Which one of you is right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is, depending on the source that you're looking at, they're all going to be different in some aspect of each other, and that's why we've got to look at the bigger picture and what all the scientific consensus is saying.
And what is it saying, Alyssa?
That again, there are biological elements, psychological elements, and sociological elements to that. And again, you've got to look into the studies, you've got to look into what they're all saying. We can't look at one, because then someone else is going to come up and say, oh, well, this one says that, and then this one says this. But when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, then it's all like,
Big
okay,
mess.
so it's a
That makes
scheme.
no sense.
Okay, that's not my fault that it doesn't make sense for you guys. That's on
Well,
you
hold
guys.
on. Because I still think you can go down, you can meet people with their definitions too, and then go down the path of where they're at with their definition. Because that's all it really uses, like it's all it's used for, is just to kind of show someone where they're sitting at in regards to like what they view like a certain thing as. Like it paints a very brief picture. So I have no problem with someone using a definition just so we can like further explore like thoughts and I don't know ideas relating to how they like formed that view. So we can't just like take a step back and try to like hit it all at once with one broad and like encompassing like definition, so to say. It's a case by case basis. So like I understand what you're trying to achieve with all this information and stuff like that. In reality, it just doesn't work that way.
Well, again, there's ways where we can explain this to people that will make sense. But again, it's when we start hyperfixating on very small aspects of it, then it's going to go down a huge long road because then we've got to start deconstructing everything and being able to explain everything, of which it takes so much time. Like, people get
It
mad at
does,
me
yeah.
for going on these long rants, but it's because there is so many more things about this. It's like trying to define a butterfly when a butterfly can be so many more things than just a 3-4 word definition.
Yeah, but I don't care
Yeah,
about people going
deconstruction
on
takes a
long
long
rants
time.
when warranted. Like, if you need to explain something and it's in depth, that's perfectly fine. But it needs to be, like,
Consistent,
clear.
coherent.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that.
And that's the problem, is incoherent. It's inconsistent.
Yeah, you can't like just don't be too broad with your definitions and stuff like that and views.
Yeah,
Some of these are perfectly fine for what they are.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and that's why I've been putting so much time into compiling all this research and being able to put it into points that people can understand. But in order for them to understand, they've got to be willing to actually learn and to not just immediately start jumping at any small little tiny thing that I say.
But here's
Because
the
once I
thing, though,
finish the
Alyssa.
definition or what it is I'm saying, then it makes sense.
But here's the thing. When you are going off and going on like this, and you want to make a concise and coherent argument to someone, right? By putting, let's all say this, right? Like, not everyone has the same brain, not everyone has the same education, right? Let's use words that everyone can understand, right? If you're going to do this.
Yeah, and that's like when I'm
Like when
explaining
you're
the difference between gender and sex, I can break it down as to say that sex is between the legs, gender is between the ears. That is something people can understand, and then if we
Alyssa,
need to
I
break it
truly
down a
just
little
don't
bit
think that
more,
you
we
want to
can.
hear anything that we're having to say at this moment. I think that this is a mute point at this point. I think that you're just being the way you're being just to be. Okay? And that's okay. But I am an adult. I'm not going to sit here and trying to, you know, badger or keep on going back and forth with you. It's just not in my nature. So, respectfully, I'm done with this conversation.
Yeah, no, we're good. I think the brain scan, like people that live and unalive on the hill of the brain scans, it's not the best thing because even those brain scans are not 100% definitive.
Yes,
They
that's
even
actually
say
something I
themselves
know.
that they lean. It doesn't specifically say that they are like one way. And then you're putting a qualifier that trans people have to meet this criteria. When, as it was stated before, like the lived experience speaks more.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with you there. Like, of course, lived experience is going to state a lot more. And, like, a other huge part of my argument is I like to go into, like, the history of trans people and showing that we've been around for a very long time. But what I like about the brain scans, of which I acknowledge that they are not completely definitive yet because it is still being researched. But it gives us a little bit more of a understanding of why we might be the way that we are. So I've been torn apart for bringing up brain studies before, and I will acknowledge that, but it's the context of why those studies are also relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I want Celeste to go next, but I'll just say, like, it's a surface level argument that a lot of people have on TikTok, and they don't fully understand what they're reading or dive into it. They just see, oh, brain scans support us. Okay, there's more to it. I personally go by like the mosaic brain model, but go ahead,
Yeah,
Celeste.
I agree with
That's
that.
exactly what I was about to say. The brain mosaic, because they're like more feminine and pattern brains, and like trans people usually their brains pattern after their like cis counterparts, but you can't like use that as the qualifier yet because there's not enough research on it, and basically like gender is such a spectrum, and some people exist like completely out of that spectrum. So it's like, where does their brain like fall into that? So listen, I don't know. I feel like kind of you guys are all kind of like agreeing, but I don't know if it's like the wording that you're using. I was initially very confused when you came up here, but then now like um now that it's been more delved into, I think that you guys are really just kind of saying this similar things, or at least you guys agree on the base of what trans is. Because like um one point I wanted to bring up is that like when you're talking about dang, I almost lost my train. I think I lost my train of thought. Somebody else can go.
I mean, I'll just say that, this is why I focus on the fact that trans women can socially, medically, and even legally in a lot of places from a protected class situation be women, right? And we have to explain how those things are possible. And I think that's where we can actually make a dent. Like a trans woman, especially one who has medically transitioned and or had surgeries, is not phenotypically nor biologically the same as a cis man, right? And we have to point things like that out.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
I
I
think
think we're starting to get on the same page, so thank you.
I know what I was going to say. None of these people in the panel are saying that there aren't biological characteristics of being trans. And I think that's where your like biopsychosocial thing in there, just saying psychosocial, is like getting mixed up. So like we know there's biological characteristics of being trans, but it's just not in the APA, which is what was being said. Like they don't define it that way. So
Yeah,
I think
well,
that's where that disconnect was, because
yeah,
we
and
never
again,
found that article or anything.
that's why I said that when we start hyperfixating on one thing, it completely blows things out of proportion. Because I'm talking about the broader scientific consensus of what they're all saying, and again, this is coming from a compilation of the research and everything else that they're all saying. So I'm glad we cleared that up. Thank you.
Like I say, arguing two different sides of the same coin. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop
I'm
back.
still stuck on the fact that I'm now a GC.
Yeah, I apologize for that echo again.
That was
I don't like
crazy.
it when people
Wild.
hyperfixate on one thing.
Wild, Echo. You're a GC.
Yep.
Yeah,
No
well, I
offense,
saw
but
the
when
name
people
from your
fixate on one,
bio.
no offense, when I hyperfixate on like a definition or one thing, it's simply because I'm a stickler for like definitions meaning what it says on the actual like dictionary. Um, whatever official dictionary that may be. I think it's part of my like neurodivergence that I'm very focused on the meaning of words, because if we don't,
Let me see if I understand this correctly. So let's go with the thing that it's biopsychosocial. To be trans, all three have to be incongruent with the sex assigned at birth, right?
Not to be trans, but we're talking gender. So this is something that applies to both cis people, trans people, everyone.
Listen to my question. To be trans, all three have to be incongruent with the sex assigned at birth, right?
Incongruent? Yes.
Okay. So what if someone's brain is the biology is not incongruent, but the psychology and the sociology is? Then what is that person?
Well, again, when you look at the biology, the psychology also plays a role in that, and there's no way for us to actually test that until after their post-mortem. And so from there, it's still how the brain is recognizing itself, and when we understand that it's how the brain is recognizing itself,
You're
there
not
we can
answering my
get some of the
question.
biological
You're not
aspects
answering
to
my
that.
question. You're not answering my question. I don't know why you do this thing where
I
you
am.
monologue. No, you're not. So if the bio is congruent, but the psychological and social is not, what is that person?
Well, if they don't... Sorry, I think I'm... Can you rephrase that in a different way, please?
So you have a person, right? In terms of their gender, since it's biopsychosocial, the bio part is congruent, but the psychological and social part is not. What is that person, cis or trans?
I think that when you talk about biological, are you talking about the genitalia part of it?
Now, relative to your prior statement where you said all three are required to be trans, what if two of them aren't met, where they don't have that neurological difference, but their social and psychological differences, but not the biological?
Okay, so I think that was a other misunderstanding. So when I said that, that was relating it directly to gender, not if it is a requirement for someone to be trans or not. The only requirement for someone to be trans or not is for there to be a incongruence between their sex and their gender.
Right? So if the bio is not incongruent, but the psychosocial is, what is that person, cis or trans?
I think that would technically make someone trans because, again, there's no way for us to actually measure the actual biological part of the brain until
Okay, got it,
post-mortem.
got it,
So
got
the
it.
best
So,
we can go off of is a
right. So the
psychological and
bio
social
part,
model.
so the bio part is not required to being trans. It's only the psycho and the social.
Okay,
Ding,
it's
ding,
still
ding,
an
ding, ding,
aspect
ding,
of...
ding, ding. I think we have a winner.
And do you know what that means? What you're essentially saying is there's no biological element to being trans.
Well, again, when I talk about the biological element, I'm talking about
I don't
the
know why you
brain
mentioned it at all if you
structure.
don't believe that that's even required to being trans.
Give me a sec. So, as I mentioned beforehand, the biological element is how the brain is structured, and then the psychological element is how the brain recognizes itself. And so, typically, when there's a psychological function within the brain, there's also going to be an
So
inherent
painful to me. I'm
biological
so
function
sorry
with
that you
that
have to
as
deal with
well.
this.
Right.
I'm
So
so
what
sorry.
I've just found out is that you didn't believe it's actually biopsychosocial. You just believe it's psychosocial.
Which
No,
is
I
The
still
bio
believe
part
that
is not
it is biopsychosocial
no, you
because,
don't
again,
believe that because you
I
said if
look
they don't
at
have the
a
bio,
lot of the other evidence for
Alyssa,
that.
you don't believe that because you just said if they don't have the bio, they will still be trans.
I still
Bio is
feel like
not
that was a
required.
rhetorical trap you placed me in because
That was a logical test and you failed. That's how you know when somebody's telling the truth versus not. You said all three are required. And now you're
Yes,
saying
and
only
I'm
two.
still
1 second.
consistent with my
No,
argument.
you're not, because now you're saying only two is required. The
I
bio is
also
not
mentioned
required.
that the psychological is going to be tied with the biological.
Not necessarily in terms of like
But
you have.
again, we can't
Wait one
really
second.
measure the
In terms that
biological
you have that you
without
need to have a brain to have a psychology, yes, you do. But that's not what you said. You said there's certain brain structures that inform the psychology, that then inform like the sociology. But now you're saying you don't gotta have no brain structure. So as long as the
You're taking me out of
psychology,
context.
I'm not taking you out of context, is what you said. You see, every time I catch you on a fucking bullshit, you flip flop and shift the goalpost.
I'm not shifting any goalposts.
So then why did you say earlier that all three are required when only just two are required?
Because the psychological, as I mentioned before, and you're going to hear me say the exact same thing again.
So we're gonna go in
The
a circle.
psychological is going to be tied with the biological.
In terms
All
of
I
like you
said
need
is
to
we
have a
can't
brain, 1 second.
really
In terms of
determine that
what?
until after
That you need to have a
postmortem.
brain to have a psychology, sure. Right? But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about certain brain structures that inform your gender. That's what you were talking about. That's the bio part. Now I asked you if you don't have that bio part, but you have the psychological part and the social part. Are you cis or trans? You said you're still trans. So then the bio is not required.
Well, again, the way you worded it was a little bit. I haven't heard it worded like that before. So, granted, I'm going to misinterpret some things.
You didn't misinterpret
But
shit.
again,
It was asked
my
multiple times in
definition
different
still
ways.
stands.
No, it
Why are we
doesn't.
ripping each other apart if we're fighting for the same things?
No, we are not. Because I don't know what the hell
It's
you're
not
talking
ripping each
about.
other apart. Like internal critiques within our community are completely valid, which is
I
why
I
I'm
agree with
letting
that.
this conversation between trans people and like
No
other
offense. No offense, Alyssa, but you were the one saying that all these people were dangerous and that they were GCs. So that's more ripping apart than what they've been
Yeah, I don't
doing.
even know what they're talking about because they're saying different things. Like now that first they said that what's required is those three elements. I tested her logic on that. As it turns out, you only need two elements, not three.
I don't like cis people fighting over what makes someone trans. I believe that's more harmful. But like we can have the conversation in our community to come together and have a shared understanding of who we are and share our lived experiences. That's what we're doing here.
Right, let me ask you another question, Alyssa. Let's say there's this person that's like, can you see somebody's like gender in their brain after they're like unalived? Because you talked about post mortem, right?
I was talking about postmortem just to see the actual biological element of that person.
Can
There's
you
no way
see
to see the
somebody's
other photo
gender in their
after.
brain post mortem?
Sorry, I missed that last part.
Can you see someone's gender post mortem? Like if I were to dissect your brain, open it up, can I see your gender?
No, there might be like different leanings to that. Again, that is coming from the brain sex and trans women shifted towards gender identity, but even in that study, there's still going to be shown to still have a majority of that being leaning towards their biological sex, but it's still an indicator that they may have been gender non-conforming or something along those lines. Again, research is ongoing.
So then where is this identity of a woman coming from then? And what is a woman? And what is a man? Alyssa, the question was for you, Alyssa.
Sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm taking care of something.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Welcome back to Debate Talk.
Atlantic, I want to say this to you. I apologize to you for ever disrespecting you and making you feel some sort of way. I sincerely apologize to you.
You came to save the day, Justine?
I missed it. What did you say?
That the bio is not required for being trans after saying it was.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I never directly said that.
Yes, you
I just
did.
got a quick I just got a quick question because I'm eating food.
Okay.
So,
You got a question because you're eating food?
well, no. Oh my god, I fucking hate you, Auntie. No, I got a quick question before I drop down because I'm eating food.
Okay.
What was her initial claim that everybody up here is a GC?
Yeah, pretty much. That we're being harmful to the community. Even though I don't
Alyssa,
even know, based off her logic, I don't know what the fuck trans is or cis.
Alyssa, like 2, 3. I can tell you at least 5 people here, 6 people here, 7 people here. I don't know Naomi, so I can't speak on Naomi, and I
I'm a
barely know
trans
you.
medicalist.
Huh?
I own it. I'm a trans medicalist. I own
Ew.
it.
Okay, so most of the people here definitely are not. So maybe check your shit, Alyssa. It's like the
When a
second or third time you had to do so in the last like 2 days. It's looking
when a
kind of
gender
wild.
critical sees me, they block me immediately.
Yeah, they block me as well, like on site. I can say nothing at all and get blocked. So several of us get blocked on site. So yeah, I wanna check that. You've been taking some L's lately, Alyssa.
Again, it was
Alyssa,
it was taken in
this
the
wasn't a
best of
question.
colors.
This wasn't a question. Just maybe look at the people you're talking to before you go out and call people GC. That's pretty fucking harmful.
Yeah, friendly fire. Wait, Naomi, how trans medicalist are you? Are you like the old school, like you have to have the surgery before you trans medicalist? Are you like, if you have gender dysphoria, you should seek medical care, trans medicalist?
They don't even do pronouns. That's how trans medicalists are.
Ew.
Yeah.
I really
Ew.
want someone to talk in like third person just to absolutely refuse to
Can
use
I
It's so
speak for myself instead of you saying what I
Ew.
am?
I
Since you
mean, you
don't.
did
I mean, you
tell
said
me.
you're a
You
trans
did tell me
medicalist.
you
Right,
don't
but let
do pronouns. Did you?
me
Did you not?
voice my own thought process.
So, what are your
Right?
pronouns?
That's just what I'm gonna do right there. Okay, I'm gonna drop back down now. I mean, you can come off mute. I just wanted to be petty. Trans medicalists are fucking
Wow.
gross.
Okay.
Hey,
The whole time we've been the whole
I
time
would
we've
like
been
to
up here,
finish my
I've
dialogue with
not
Alyssa,
had
if that's
one
okay.
ill thing to say to anybody. Right?
I'll hold back now then.
What was the question, Atlantic?
Well, I'm finishing this.
You could just DM it to me, Naomi. It's not that big of a deal.
She believes you gotta have dysphoria to be trans. That's the trans medicalist that she is.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh.
That's right, Naomi?
What, Atlantic? I'm sorry.
You believe that you gotta have dysphoria to be trans?
Yes.
There you go. The classic trans medicalist.
LOL.
All right, so Alyssa, let's say somebody has the bio, but they don't have the psycho and the social. What are they? Cis or trans?
Again, I'm still gonna stick with my same argument that psychological is going to be tied to biological.
If they have the biology, but they don't have the psychology or the sociology, what are they? Cis or trans?
If they have the biological, but they have the psychological and the
No, but they don't have the psychological and the sociological. What are they? Cis or trans?
well, they would still have the biological at that point, and that would make them cis.
So if the biology is incongruent, but the sociology and the psychology is not,
Well,
they're
again,
cis?
that's the different aspect of biology. From there, we were talking about sex, so that's kind of
I'm
like when
talking about the brain.
they'd have to have the biology because they'd have to have a brain.
Okay, we're talking about different. Do you see this shit? What she's doing?
I
No,
see. I'm confused
what your
now.
argument is better now.
So, in terms of gender, you said it's biopsychosocial. That's what I'm asking you about. Not their assigned sex at birth. If they have the biology, the brain structure, right, that's incongruent with their assigned sex at birth, but the psychology and the sociology is not incongruent with the assigned sex at birth, what is that person, cis or trans?
Well, the incongruent would still be part of the psychology, so that doesn't really add
I'm
up.
telling you, it's not. I mean, it's a hypothetical that I'm asking you.
You're gonna have to explain why her argument doesn't make sense then, though, too. So, like,
Yeah, so the reason it doesn't make sense
I
is
did
because
not
she's
make an
saying,
argument. It's a hypothetical.
yeah, so even the hypothetical, so again, if you're saying that someone doesn't have the biological
No,
aspect,
I
but
said they have the biology, the brain structure, they have it, but they don't have the psychology or the sociology. Like the psychology and sociology is congruent. They cis or trans.
that would be he cis, again, assuming that you're not going to
So
add in the
you're
incongruence
further
again.
reaffirming what I said earlier, right? You don't need the biology, has nothing to do whether you're cis
No,
or trans.
you brain. There we are.
Okay, you said gender
You
is
have to have a brain.
biopsychosocial, right? I understand that, Alyssa.
First off, thank you for putting me through this because it's helping me understand what some of these.
Right? If they have that's incongruent. The brain structure is incongruent, but not the psychology or the sociology. What is that person, cis or trans? Who's that clickety clackety?
So the
I'm
biology
working, so that's
is
why I'm click clacking.
so the biology is incongruent, but the psychology and the sociology isn't.
Mm-hmm.
That would actually make me kind of wonder if they'd be gay.
I'm asking you if they're cis or trans.
That would be cis.
So,
But it's
Alyssa,
not about the fucking brain structure at all. It's just the psychology and the sociology.
No,
right?
no, that actually makes sense
You
because
double
if their
confirmed it.
biology
You
is
double confirmed,
incongruent,
Alyssa. You double confirmed it. Because
no,
the previous
hear
question
me
I
out.
asked you,
This is actually getting
hold,
exciting now.
the previous question I asked you was, let's say they don't have the incongruence in the brain, but they do have it on a psychological and a social level. You said they will be trans. And when I said in reverse, they do have the brain, but not the psychology and sociology, then you said they will be cis. So it's not based off the brain at all.
So Alyssa, can I? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jess.
So she does not believe it's biopsycho. She wouldn't believe it's psychosocial.
I
She
do want to
does, but it's
recognize
not. She doesn't
Celeste.
like. She doesn't have a well-formed opinion. Like it's very half-baked too. So,
No,
just like really
Justine,
quick,
don't
Alyssa
speak
too.
for
So
her.
if someone,
Justine, don't speak for her.
oh,
I do want to recognize Celeste did have their
yes,
hand
ma'am.
up.
Sorry, y'all.
Sorry, Alyssa, I have
I
a
promise I'll
question
be
for
quick.
you. Sorry, go ahead, Celeste.
All good. I'll be quick. I promise.
It's like
So can I bring up a like slightly different thing when we're talking about like necessary characteristics and like?
yes.
Do you mind that? Okay. So I'm autistic, right? So when I got diagnosed, we went through like the diagnostic criteria of what makes a person autistic. So you don't have to have every single symptom of autism to be autistic. It's just there's a certain amount of the characteristics that you have to display, and even then there's different ways to display them. Autistic people can like lack um, cognitive empathy, but they can also be like hyper empathetic. There's like different ways to be, autistic, in kind of in a similar way that there's different ways to being trans. Physiological.
Biopsychosocial.
Yeah, biopsychosocial. All those factors, they're not like, you don't have to have all of those aspects to be trans. It's just like an incongruence, and wherever that incongruence finds itself would make you trans,
Yeah, I actually
either in the bio, either in the psycho, or either in the social. It doesn't have to be all three, but it seems like you're trying to make everything need to be one way. But with a lot of like gender non-conforming people, or non-binary people, all three of those are not going to be misaligned for a lot of us.
All right,
And
so
even like sometimes there is incongruence and sometimes there isn't, like depending on day to day for some people.
Alright.
So it really is,
all right,
it really
so
depends on a lot of things.
based off that logic, a femboy is trans.
Yeah, so real quick, because I actually do agree with you there, Celeste. Right there, we're kind of talking about diagnostic materials. So that right there, I actually do agree with. Again, I'm not saying that you have to have gender dysphoria. Again, what I'm saying is that there's a incongruence.
No one said that. No one's talking about gender dysphoria.
That's not what I was talking about.
No, that all I was saying is that I agree that there's a diagnostic criteria, not criteria, but like what you were talking about in order for someone to be autistic. Those are diagnostic. Looking at autism, for that example, they're going to be looking at to diagnose it. It's not going to be something where they're going to be looking directly inside the brain every time. My argument is coming from, again, the studies and from what we are beginning to learn. And so that's kind of where my argument comes from. So it's not on the diagnostics at all. It's on what we are currently learning and what is coming to light.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because it really did sound like you were listing like diagnostic criteria throughout this whole conversation.
Again, I am not a trans medicalist. I used to be, I am not anymore, but I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, no one was talking about that. But based off the logic that was proposed just now, that it could be any, or one, or three, or whatever, then that concludes to femboys being trans, because they are incongruent with the sociology only.
Real quick, Atlantic, you are just a tiny bit muffled. Again, kind of what I was getting at with the biopsychosocial stuff. Again, that is coming from what I am learning, and from what, again, a lot of these medical organizations are bringing to light. And again, that's still just talking about gender. So that's going to be the same for people who are cis, people who are trans, people who are bi. Like, it encompasses everyone.
Let me ask you this, Alyssa. Out of those three elements, biopsycho and social, which one is the required one that has to be incongruent in order to be considered trans?
I think out of those three, it would technically have to be the psychological and the sociological.
One. You gotta pick one. One. Just one out of the three. Which one would you say is required? One out of the three.
If I had to choose one, it would probably have to be the psychological, because people can have a incongruence with their sex and their gender, but not have the need to transition.
Okay. So trans is somebody that has a psychological incongruence with their assigned sex at birth.
Yes.
Okay, so then why are you saying biosocial? None of that it matters.
Because again, we all have the biological element, that being the brain. We all have the psychological element, that being how the brain recognizes itself. And then we all have the sociological element, which is how the world and impresses what the sociological aspects of men and women are.
Does that make sense to any of you?
It does. I don't think she realizes what she's saying. Also, you know, someone's psyche can be influenced, right, and like bent to a certain
That's
way.
exactly what I was gonna go with this.
That's us as humans, anyways. But again,
So you cannot claim that people are born trans because the people are not born with a developed psychology. They become. You're saying it's a psychological schema. And
yeah,
psychological
but again, the brain
schemas
is
are, one second,
super
psychological
complex.
schemas are influenced by external factors, especially like experiences that you have. So where that logic concludes is that you can make somebody cis or trans or vice versa.
Yeah, well, from there, like, we can start, like, diving into, like, some of the actual science aspects of that, because there's different parts of our brains that control different parts of how we act, how we interpret the world, what our body does, how it regulates our own body, some stuff that we don't even need to think about. So that wouldn't, so that would actually make sense, but again, we have to have a understanding of what makes us tick from there. And again, a lot of this stuff is still being studied.
Listen, by your logic, everybody's fucking trans.
Alyssa, what
It's
about
not definable enough for me to be able to understand what you're saying, Alyssa. I'm sorry.
right? So, Alyssa, have you heard of transgender OCD?
What the fuck is that?
Do you know what it is, Atlantic?
No, I never heard of that. What is that?
So it's like it's a
Real
subcategory
quick, guys, I'll be right back.
of being OCD, but the OCD is they're so obsessed with gender identity that they actually present as trans in the world.
Oh, like hypochondriacs that are obsessed with it and they develop, like, they show symptoms.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's called transgender OCD. So like somebody with transgender OCD isn't technically doesn't necessarily mean that they're trans, but they can be, right? It's based off of kind of the obsession with transgender and gender identity and everything that kind of puts them through this rabbit hole.
Listen, I don't
Neurodivergent.
know what any of this shit means anymore, honestly. I just don't know.
Yeah, no worries. But I mean, I'm just saying, like in those situations, that person doesn't even though it might make Alyssa's qualifications, that person might not be trans, right? So
Oh, okay, I'm back. What I
And that's a
missed?
psychological phenomenon, right, Mars? I see where you're going with this.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the problem right there, because this shit is so fucking inconsistent that it's just incoherent. And I'm not saying just you, Alyssa. I'm saying the overall messaging that the trans community has about what trans is just incoherent. It's all over the place. It basically means nothing. And people are like, that's a whole lot of crap. That's not real. Because they don't understand it. And we're not doing a good job at like helping people understand it because you're saying something different, somebody's saying something different, somebody's saying something different.
Okay,
It's
real quick, I am
all
a
over the
little bit
place.
lost. I had to step away for a sec, so I'm kind of lost at the moment.
Okay, so basically Mars was saying that there's this phenomenon called trans OCD where these people are hyperfixated on gender identity and they might present as trans and some of them might be, but some of them are not. But the point is that it's a psychological phenomenon. So if we were to apply your definition to what trans is, then like almost everybody's fucking trans. I don't know.
Not exactly, because again, I still stick with my definition of which is the definition of a lot of the medical organizations, that being that a transgender person is a person whose gender identity is incongruent from their sex assigned at birth.
Okay, how is it incongruent? Let's say the assigned sex at birth is male. How is a gender identity incongruent with that?
Sorry, say that one more time.
How would be the gender identity incongruent with the sex assigned at birth? Let's say the sex assigned at birth is male.
Okay, so from there, again, it's going to vary widely depending on who the trans person, because our experiences are all going to be different. But for me personally, it was a incongruence between my downstairs, assuming we all know what we're talking about, from how I go out in the world, I live my life, and what is going to be natural for me and my gender.
Right. So then I get an answer to my question. If the assigned sex at birth is male and the gender identity is incongruent with that, then what is the gender identity?
I think it depends on what that person's what's going to feel natural to that person. For some people, it might be that they are their gender identity is that of a woman, or they could be non-binary.
And what is a woman?
A woman is a rhetorical trap that was set by Charlie Kirk. I do have a written definition that would satisfy those requirements. So, give me one sec.
Girl, you don't have your definition like memorized or like a.
It's okay. They can.
No,
They can go
I
get
do. It's something I just recently wrote down though, and I want to make sure that I get my point across on exactly how I intended for it to be.
So, question.
Okay.
Am I getting this? Am I getting the definition of woman right? Like an adult, the gender identity that's closely like correlated with what would be considered like the female sex.
Yeah, so again, it's a rhetorical trap that was set up by Matt Walsh. They don't want you to use circular reasoning or logic behind it.
How is that circular? I didn't use the same thing.
They want to hear female because then they can start tearing you apart for not being biologically a female. So let me give you my definition.
Okay. So women is not tied to being female at all.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that.
So then what is a woman?
Okay, so a woman is an adult human whose identity, role, and social recognition align with womanhood, whether by birth, transition, or how they live their life. Now,
and what is womanhood? I'm sorry, what is womanhood?
Perfect. So womanhood refers to the state, condition, or qualities associated with being a woman. It encompasses lived experiences, psychological aspects,
circular.
personal development.
That's circular. That's more circular than what I said. I said the traits often associated with the female sex, not woman, because you just said a woman is someone who identifies as a woman.
Well,
which is circular.
No, because I defined woman, and then womanhood is a completely different word.
You haven't defined woman.
And I didn't get to finish my my definition of womanhood.
You have not defined woman yet. Or man. You're just going in a big thing. Woman is someone who experiences womanhood, and womanhood is a woman that experiences experiences. That's what you're doing.
Well, let me finish. So there's no singular or correct way to it being a woman. Every woman's experience and psychological aspects differ. Again, that's why it's called a rhetorical trap.
Because, it's not a rhetorical trap. It's the fact that you cannot define this thing that you're claiming to identify as.
So, what do you want me to give you? The same definition that Matt Walsh and all the GCs want, which is
give me a definition that makes actually fucking sense, that it's not a circular reasoning fallacy.
Okay, so let me give you the gender critical one, and I would love to see how you guys respond because
No, give me a definition that you actually believe to be true, not something that you wrote down and you thought it made sense when it didn't.
Yeah, give a definition like you can actually use in a debate and conversation that you actually stand behind and can justify.
Here's the thing, I've used that definition in plenty of debates at this point, and it's definitely helped a lot of people understand, and even people who were kind of on the fence, they were like, okay, we actually kind of align with that. And
Yeah.
so it
Alyssa,
has
it's a surface level definition. Once you start taking a critique, it falls apart.
That is literally what they're looking for, is a surface level definition. They don't want something that is going to lead them down the route of science and understanding. They just want something that is small-minded, that they can go like, okay, that you literally just said.
Your definition is circular, though.
Yeah, yours is circular. There is a definition that includes all women and does not include any men or non-binary or questioning people.
Yeah, and
I missed the
so
end
you
of
have to
that
give one.
definition that I gave.
Because I guarantee you, several people here have heard me give it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're gonna say, Katie.
I'm not going to say it.
Can I hear what you guys would recommend then? Because again,
I'm not going to tell you.
I am trying to better myself.
Yeah, I can say Katie's definition for women is an adult human female.
No, don't tell them. Stop. Oh my God.
Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, don't let her figure this
Alyssa,
out.
are you a trans woman?
Yes, I am.
Okay. When you say that you are a woman, what do you mean by that?
By that, I mean that I literally live my life as in a way that is congruent with female sex. It doesn't mean that I'm female, but
I'm sorry, but that's literally what I said,
Then
Alyssa.
why are you giving a definition you don't actually believe in? So your definition is a woman is anyone who lives as
so real quick, I'm
a female, even though they were assigned a different sex at birth. Does that sound more accurate to you?
That's a dictionary definition.
That's pretty much her definition. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, that's a dictionary definition.
She said, "I'm not female, but I live and identify as a female." Ooh,
you can find that definition. You can find that definition in the Cambridge Dictionary. Why? You know what? I don't know why I'm speaking. You try to speak over me. You can find that definition in the Cambridge Dictionary.
Y'all, am I going crazy, or is that pretty much what I said?
Nope, it's what you've said,
Celeste. It is, and again, Celeste, I apologize.
No, but you started calling everybody gender criticals again because you said that our definition was gender critical. So like, I don't get why we're flip flopping between GC rhetoric and like actually agreeing with what we're saying, because I said verbatim, almost verbatim, that definition.
Okay. I guess I've been in so many debates with GCs at this point that I am probably a little bit more easily triggered than what I should be.
That's a poor excuse. Are you kidding me? We several of us have been in whole panels for days on end with these people, and we don't say that.
I am also somewhat new to this side of TikTok. I've only been at this for like less than a month at this point.
I think it's been at it for 4 years. I've been in it for just over a year. What are you talking about?
Girly Pop, just say sorry. It's okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you don't have to beg for an apology. We're adults. I'm not begging nobody for an apology.
I wasn't begging.
If I mess up, I do want to apologize, because my end goal is to help the community fight for our rights and to make sure that we aren't losing any more than what we already have. Again, I used to be a gender critical. I used to be someone who was on that side of the aisle, and I myself have already caused a lot of harm from that side of the aisle. And again, it took me actually like looking into the actual research and actually bettering myself and my understanding of people who are different than me to get to where I am now. So if I acknowledge I still have a way to go.
You're saying I want to apologize without actually like apologizing. You're just over explaining why you're doing what you're doing.
And yeah, and also you've been around. You've also been a wild racist, so are you going to start doing racist things too?
Me?
Yeah, you.
How
I ain't
was I
talking to Celeste.
racist?
I'll tell you if like stop like racist stuff in the past, move on, grow, do better. You know, I can't obviously give you any type of pass on that, but if I see that shit, I'm gonna be pissed. Um, we don't fight transphobia with racism. I'm gonna make that very clear.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, you've been around racists, are you going to start doing racist things now too and going, oh, well, maybe I was just easily triggered, I'm blah, blah. Like, excuse me, are you going to be saying the same thing when you possibly say some racist junk
Oh,
or not?
Let me
well,
ask Alyssa a question. Alyssa, what's the required condition for being a woman?
I'm not sure I understand.
What are the required conditions for being a woman?
Make it
Atlantic, you
easy
gotta,
for you, Alyssa.
you gotta help her a little bit.
Alyssa, um, are you using a phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now.
Okay, your phone needs to have electricity coursing through it in order to work, right?
So basically,
Right.
Alyssa, to be a woman, you have to meet these requirements. What are those
Yeah.
requirements?
They have to meet them every single time, no matter what.
And it's true for 100% of women.
Yeah, just like your phone had to have electricity to work.
I
There
think
are
that would
things
be
that make.
to identify as a woman.
The what?
Yeah,
To
if you're gonna say
identify
that there's no
as a
necessary,
woman.
just know ahead of time. If you say there's none, then you're saying that women don't exist. Everything has at least one necessary condition. It can have 20 million, it can have 50, it can have two, but it has to have at least one.
So the requirement is to identify as a woman.
Can you guys help me out again? I am trying to better learn myself, and I don't want to say anything that's going to make us sound bad.
You're fine.
Insistence, consistence, and persistence that you are a woman.
Yep.
I
Yep.
just want to see.
I actually agree with that.
That's circular too.
Don't tell her, like, get her to, like, critically think about it, too. Like, I actually agree with Atlantic's, like, approach a little more with having people, like, critically think outside the box. So you can tell them to a certain point, but, like, that conversation just started.
Yeah, because insistence, persistence, and consistence, that does align. Again, that's going to, like, the diagnostic criteria of those who are transgender, and that's also true for those who are cisgender, because they are consistent, persistent, and insistent that they are
That deals with
women,
gender.
so
We're
that
talking
makes
about.
sense.
That's talking about gender. We're talking about women.
Oh, no, I was kind of saying that makes sense, and I was telling you guys why that made sense to me. Sorry, I like to explain why something would make sense, or kind of like my line of thinking through it.
So what makes somebody a woman?
Pretty much what just said. The insistence, persistence.
That's for gender because you can apply that to men. You can apply that to boys.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
That's
sorry.
not telling us
well, for a
anything.
woman that would make sense because it is that of
A
being
woman is
a woman.
someone who's
For men,
insistent,
it would be that of being a
persistent,
man.
and consistent. Gender identity is woman. That's circular.
Help me out.
You got to
No,
work this out yourself.
figure it out.
Yeah, in that aspect, a child can call themselves a woman
Mm-hmm.
So
because
That's
they can
I,
say
why
that they.
you don't come
I,
up to these panels to debate when you're like this in this position where you don't even know what nothing is or
well,
that's why what
understand
we always
rather.
have to do, Alyssa, we have to look at our arguments and say, what are the defeaters for it? How can it be shut
no,
down or challenged?
I agree with that. So again, thank you guys for putting me through this. It is definitely going to help. Um, I guess the main thing I'm going to probably default back to, and again, if you guys want to correct me, I'm open to listening, but I'm probably going to default to the psychological aspects of how we're wired and how we go out and we live our lives.
That can be used for any group of people.
Yeah, yeah, you don't see how problematic that is. So you called yourself someone that fights for trans rights, but
Well,
Atlantic. has broken down your arguments multiple different ways, left and right, you don't think that's more harmful than someone saying trans people are not women?
Might as well just say that instead of saying what you're saying, Alyssa.
I really
Gender
don't.
abolitionist, and while yeah, you could be a gender abolitionist and go that route. I mean, there's
Because
other routes
yeah,
other people go down.
your logic concludes that people are influenced to being trans, which means that can change, and which means you can de-influence them, and that femboys are trans. Who that person that Mars said is trans, even though they used to have
That's
an
still not
OCD
what I'm
episode.
saying, though.
You said it's psychological.
Yeah, but again, from there, I would want to dive into like the psychological aspects of the brains, because not every single part of us can be influenced. There's stuff to us that is intrinsic to us. Like, same for
What's the
women.
psychological structure for saying that you like the color blue? I mean, the neurological structure, sorry. Where's the neurological structure that dictates whether you're gonna like the color blue or pink or whatever?
I don't think I'd be able to answer that question because I'm
There
not versed
isn't
in that
one. That's the
area
answer.
No, because I'm not familiar with that area of the brain, and again, those are more elements that are learned rather than taught. But again,
Like all
there's
psychological
parts.
schemas. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
but
would,
there's
I
parts
would
of us
say,
that again are intrinsic. Like there's something that you need to learn about. There's psychological there's psychological functions that have to take place in order for you to be able to digest, in order for you to be able to go and remove to empty your bowels. Those are not things that we need to be. Our gender is intrinsic to who it is that we are.
You do know the operation of like the heart in your breathing is not just like psychological, right? It's also physiological.
I think that's my favorite part is that she still says psychological and then uses biological examples too. So you're so close. Like biological does drive a lot of these behaviors.
Yeah, it's an unconscious process. I don't like when people say subconscious because that's not like scientific definition of things that you're not thinking about. It's unconscious.
Yeah, so
you can do it while you're not conscious.
Yeah, pretty much the core of what my argument is that being trans is not a choice. It's not something that we are taught. It is just part of who it is that we are. Like,
If it's
it's not.
psychological, then yeah, it's something that you're taught.
No,
Because you know
because
that
if it's
religion is also
intrinsic to who
psychological,
you
right?
are,
One second. People are not born Christians. They're not born speaking a language. They're not born knowing any of this, right?
yeah, those
They
would be
learn this after they're
ideologies.
born because it is taught to them by the people around them or the external factors. So if we're going to go with the psychological definition of trans or cis, whatever, then logic follows. No one is born cis or trans. They become cis or trans due to experiences they have in society.
No, that still doesn't make sense though, because like I was never
Then your definition
influenced.
doesn't
I
make
was
sense.
never.
Elicit gender
No.
identity, the definition says that it's based off of your social, cultural, and the self-perception of your social, cultural, and personal experiences as they align to a gender category in your society.
There you go. It's psychological. It's taught to you after you're born. Nobody's born trans.
Okay. Well, I
It's
grew up
based
in a
on your
very
experiences, Alyssa.
I grew up in a very, very religious, very conservative household, and I was never taught being trans or being any of what it is that we are. It was just a part of who I was. It was again that incongruence, and that incongruence is not something that was ever taught to me. It was intrinsic to who it is that I am.
Alyssa, in the definition of gender identity, there's self-perception, right? It's the self-perception of your social, cultural, and personal experiences as they align to a gender category.
Yeah,
You
So
were
that
taught about
self-perception
back
means
to the
that nothing has to be
psychological
taught.
aspects.
Alyssa, you were taught about gender and you learned about gender while you were growing up and developing, and then you just were incongruent.
Yeah, of which, again, that is part of the psychological functions.
Yeah, but to pretend that it has nothing to do with sex, that's the part that I find very disingenuous because you're obviously. Why do you
No,
take cross? Why do you
I
take cross
never
sex?
said it
Hey,
has
one
nothing
second.
to do.
Why do you take cross sex hormones?
To align myself with my gender and my sex.
To
I
align
never
yourself to
intended
what sex? To which sex?
that of a female.
The female sex.
Yeah, and again, like I'm not saying that sex doesn't have.
I don't understand why people like to pretend like
I
this shit has
misstepped on
nothing
that
to
real
do with
quick.
your sex when it's literally all about your sex.
Yeah, but again, it's the incongruence of which that is what takes place in the brain, and the brain actually has a
So then
lot
you
more
have to
sexual
say
functions
that
than
your
that of
brain,
your sex.
right? So you have to say if you're an incongruent person and you're a female at birth and your brain is incongruent with that, then your brain is female. Because that's what
That
the incongruence means.
not entirely, because then we can be
Then
torn
what is
apart
it then?
because it's the way that our brain is wired. It's not that it directly is physiologically female.
But the parts that
It's
matter, the
wired to
parts
be
that
that way.
control or influence this shit, right? What is that? Is it male or is it female?
I happen to believe that mine was wired to be female.
Okay, so you have an incongruence within your sex.
Yeah, between my gender and my sex, and that is something that medical organizations actually will recognize, is that it is a incongruence from their gender identity
Listen,
and their
gender
sex.
means social roles and expectations
Yeah,
that
Alyssa,
society
Well,
assigns to you based off your gender. That's what gender means. It doesn't mean anything related to sex.
Well, when we talk about social roles and expectations, and this is something that I've also been torn apart for because I used to take that argument, but then they will be all like, okay, what are those social roles? And then they'll expect you to list off things like wearing dresses, having longer hair, having these body parts. And it is right there that it often turns into a losing argument, because being a woman is so much more than just those social roles, those societal expectations. There's no wrong or right way to being a woman.
Yeah, but like this is where I come back at that and I'll say like not every gendered stereotype is right or wrong. Some are just what we typically experience in society.
Can I get the big screen, please?
Yep.
yeah.
That's from the WHO. That's the definition of gender. Can you read it, Alyssa?
I'm reading it right now.
Gender refers to the characteristics of women, men, girls, and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being a man, woman, boy, or girl. As a social construct, gender varies from society and can change over time. So
Right.
it's the roles, the norms, and the behaviors society associates with the being a woman, man, girl, boy. So right there, they're
That's
saying
why
that
it's a social construct.
right there, they're saying that these roles, that women in these roles are not the same thing. It's just what's associated with being a woman, a man, a boy, or girl.
Yeah, and Alyssa, like in society, with gender, we use phenotypic sex and gender expression to label a stranger a man or a woman, like in an elevator, in a library, etc. Right, and that's where this is saying when it talks about how gender is interacts with, but is different from sex. We definitely use those features as listed to kind of tie those things together in society.
And that's why the gender expression, things like women typically have long hair, women typically wear makeup. It's not a negative stereotype. It's just what you typically see in society. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Gender expression can also refer to like the secondary sex characteristics that your body is like displaying.
Yeah, that's why I say phenotypic sex is modifiable, right? So we can modify that.
100%, yeah.
Okay. Let's say gender critical was to come into this live right now, and they heard everything that we were talking about. How would you ground
Wait,
our
you assume they're not
existence in
here?
reality rather than just stereotypes as they like to claim that we are doing?
They're stereotyping too, based off their definition of what makes somebody a
Queer gender criticals have been here since the start of this live.
yeah, they're also assuming that to be a woman you have to have these traits and not a woman have. That's
No,
also a stereotype.
I will say that I have a recording of this argument, so
Yeah.
Right. Let's look at what a stereotype is first, because we have to
Hold
define
on.
that.
Watch real quick. Hold on.
no, not Sherwin, not Sherwin. He's actually really, really nice. Like I'll show my DMs. He's really, really nice.
Sherwood was like on the
He's really
bottle this
nice,
morning.
but he doesn't believe you fucking exist. Got it.
See,
No,
Alyssa,
he's
the
different
gender
in the
criticals have
DMs.
been here this whole time.
Wow, y'all just kicking me down
Yeah,
for no
I
reason.
mean, like, if they was to come up onto the panel, because with a lot of the arguments that I've put out, again, I've had a lot more success with the arguments and talking about the actual science than talking about the stereotypes or the purely sociological settings of that.
Listen, this is what a stereotype is. We have to get that out of the way first. I feel like we're talking all over the place right now. So, a stereotype is a widely held but oversimplified and generalized belief or idea about a particular group of people. Okay. It could be based on race, gender, sex, nationality, age, blah, 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 blah. They can be positive, negative, or neutral, but they usually ignore individual differences and can lead to misconceptions, prejudice, and discrimination. So when they say things like to be a female, you have to have, I don't know, XX chromosomes, that's a fucking stereotype because we know not all females have XX chromosomes, right?
Yeah, it completely negates all the different intersex conditions, but that's also why they will say of or denotes to in their definition of a woman.
Right. And all stereotypes are rigid, right? They are not fluid. So,
Right.
and that's very important when we talk about things because gender identity and gender expression are both fluid, which means they don't fit the definition of a stereotype.
Right.
So, how do you respond when someone directly tells you that you are a man who is pretending to be a woman all because you want to be in women's spaces?
The what again? I'm sorry.
So, one of the common arguments I get is a GC will ask me, or not so much ask me, they'll say that you are a man who is pretending to be a woman who is mentally ill, all because you want to be in female-only spaces. How do you respond to that?
You could just tell them to prove it.
Yeah, like at that point, they have to like prove
And
that
then
you're
often
male.
when I tell them
No,
to,
they
or
have to
ask them to
prove it
prove
because.
it, they'll be
So,
all like, well, you're a perfect example
so
because you
wait a minute.
are
Wait a minute.
a
Hold
man.
on. Do you know the statement? Claims made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Yes, but I rather have evidence and science be on my
You
side
don't.
to
You
back.
don't need to. They're making a baseless claim. If they're making a baseless claim, you don't have to prove anything.
Yeah,
That's what.
well,
Yeah.
That's what.
Also,
That's what that
Someone makes
means.
when somebody makes a positive claim, they have to bring a source for it.
Yeah,
So
like
you
for
have to
example.
you tell them like bring a source for that, saying that it's a mental illness or that like trans people are pretending to be trans.
Like for example,
And then they can't
Alyssa.
find it.
Alyssa, you're white, right?
I'm YT, yeah.
Okay. I think that I think you're Middle Eastern. I think you're Middle Eastern. I think you're brown.
Well, right there, I could just say that they can't see color.
No,
Like, I'm right here,
I
you
think you're
guys
Middle
can see.
Eastern. I think you're brown. What do you do then? I'm making a baseless claim, right?
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
probably have to prove
so you
it.
could just dismiss it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or I could say that you're a P3DO, but I have no proof. Do you have to prove that you're not, or could you just say, well, you have no proof, so I'm going to disregard that?
You have no proof, so I'm going to disregard that, but
There you
that's
go.
also
There's no
forgetting the
but.
people that
There's no
are
but. There's
also.
no but.
There's no but unless they have evidence that unless they can prove
No,
that you're
no,
a man.
you're 100% right there.
Then there's no but.
You are right, but when
There's no
they
but. You can't say that we're right and then provide a but. There's no but. I'm making a baseless claim. I have to prove it. Otherwise, you can just go, okay, you have nothing for that. You have nothing to prove that. And if they say they do, then tell them present it. And no matter what, you just harp on that. Present it. Give the proof. Give the proof. It'll make people see that they're lying.
They would have to give you two different pieces of proof. The first one is that you're not a woman. The second one would be that you would want to go into women's spaces because let's be honest, none of us wants to go to any of those public spaces. It's just safer for us to go there.
Not
Like
even
we don't
cis
want,
people.
exactly.
yeah, I don't
Well,
want to
well,
go to the women's bathroom, but it's just safer for me to go
well, I would.
there and just do my business and
Well, I
leave.
would push
Like
back on that some, nurse. I think a better claim would be you have to prove that we're doing this for this reason. That's what they would have to prove. Because
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
know
well,
they're not going to have any proof of that. They're going to claim it. They don't have
like
any. They don't
public
have.
bathrooms are gross. You don't
Well,
understand
yeah,
like
but
how many times people
well,
get sick or hurt from using
well,
a public bathroom.
what I'm saying though is a better thing to have them prove that you, nurse, or you, Alyssa, are doing this for the reason that they state. That's a better thing to do because the claim is, oh, you're a man that went to go into women's spaces to hurt them. Prove it. Prove it.
Hmm.
They can't prove either case.
yeah, well, I agree with you there, 100%.
Don't.
And
I swear, if you say a but, there's no but there. If you agree 100%, there's no but.
I mean, Kato,
okay,
you do have a butt.
Stop it. No, I don't.
um,
Ooh.
what I'm getting at is if they were to ask, if I was to ask them for that kind of a proof, then they would still have anecdotal evidence, that being all the different
Anecdotal
news
evidence is not
stories.
evidence. Okay,
No,
Yeah.
again,
hold
anecdotal
up.
evidence is not evidence.
Anecdotal evidence is
I
bullshit.
agree with you there, but from there, it's going to force it into a conversation of stats and that, of which I do say those do have our backs, but then it's
Anecdotal.
going to force us.
Here's the issue I see that you've been struggling with this whole time. Because I've been listening almost the entire
This
time.
way.
You feel like you have to explain
So stupid.
baseless things, and you don't. You don't whatsoever.
Mhm.
Wait, hold on. Who are you, Slowy?
I don't
Sloy's
know.
a
They're a random
so
person.
I know Sloy. He's very problematic, but
Okay.
he can
Well,
say
Chloe,
Well, then
he
slurs.
has made racial slurs and
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
ableist terms, etc.
Well, I
Well,
mean, I knew that, but I'm just like, let's just have trans people up here because it deals with us, not some rando, not some fucking rando that pops up and says stupid shit. Alyssa, I could claim you're a P3 and an animal abuser, and I have no proof. Why should you provide the proof that you're not one? You shouldn't have to do that. You should tell the person making the claim to prove it. Because otherwise that puts the work on you to disprove what they're saying, and you can't disprove a negative.
I agree with you right there. I will be right back, though. I will come back with an answer.
Okay, so Alyssa, if you're going to debate a gender critical person, you first have to understand the gender critical position. Do you understand what the gender critical position is? And
I
that
think
goes for everybody else
I
on this
think she's
that's here.
she said she'll be right back.
Right, so I'm gonna keep talking for anyone else that doesn't know. So the gender critical position, it's pretty simple. They just hold the belief that biological sex is real, binary, and unchangeable, and that gender identity should not override sex-based rights. So that laws shouldn't be passed based off gender identity, only on sex. And that sex is a binary, unchangeable, blah 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 blah. That's it. That's pretty much it.
And their
That's the
definition,
whole foundation of their position. If sex is immutable, gender identity is not the same as sex, women rights matter, concerns about medical transitioning, support for free speech, whatever, whatever. So, how would you argue with someone that holds that belief?
plus they have the whole thing of they think that sex is tied to your phenotypical anatomical genitals,
Hmm.
essentially. And for people who fall outside of that, they give like slight exceptions, and that's it.
Right, which is why they come up with definitions that revolve around sex. So, someone that is of the nature to produce large gametes or small gametes, someone that has the primarily Mullerian pathway, or primarily Wolffian pathway, blah, 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 blah. Those types of definitions, which revolve around someone's phenotypic sex, pretty much. Which is kind of weird because if you're going to define somebody's sex based off their phenotype, you can change your phenotypic sex.
But then they go, "Oh, well, you were born. It's what you were born with."
That doesn't make sense either because if I was born with two legs, therefore being bipedal, and I lose my legs after birth, am I still bipedal?
Well, yes, Atlantic, because you were born bipedal.
Okay, so I'm still a baby then because I was born a fucking baby.
Well, no, that's different
Girl,
because time, Atlantic.
But then they want to acknowledge one social construct and not another.
yeah.
uh-huh, and they will say things like, particularly envy, I don't care about your subjective feelings. I only care about objective reality. Well, if you only care about objective reality, then why are you talking about fucking laws and rights then?
That's
Oh,
too smart
speaking speaking of
for Envy to
reality,
say that.
speaking of
So you
reality, hey
only
there,
care
60.
about, right, you only care about objective reality, but you're trying to use subjective reality to reinforce what? Like
Speak,
how?
speaking of objective reality, hey there, master debater, the 67-year-old who had a whole thing for an 18-year-old, and then before they were 18, a 17-year-old. How are you down there,
What?
I sent him an invite.
master
Oh
debater? Yeah, having a whole thing for a little child, master debater. You gonna say W, Nate, or now, or you gonna run? Because I know that you've been around before he was 18, even though you claim otherwise. Master debater.
The thing is, the GCs look for people they can own and be like, I got the win, I got the win. But this entire panel can own GCs on a one-on-one even. So,
Whole groups of them.
yeah.
Several of us have.
You know, like how Martha likes to say, you're mimicking the female sex. Like, okay, what does mimicking mean? It's okay, let me give an example how fucking stupid that argument is. Let's say you are speaking a language that I don't know how to speak, right? And I mimic you, try to mimic you, mock you. Whatever. That's mimicry, right? But if I go and I fucking learn the language that I didn't know before, is that mimicry?
no! Like if you
No.
repeat a phrase that they said, you still don't know the language, but you just spoke it. So it's like,
Yeah, there's a difference between like mimicking something just for the sake because I want to make fun of it, whatever. It's like temporarily
Boppity
versus you
boopity.
adopting on the no language.
It's
So
like saying
when you adopt traits that you didn't have originally, that's not mimicry, that's an adoption of it. That's like part of who you are. It's
Boppity
not
boopity.
mimicry.
Boppity boopity boppity.
It's the whole
to
thing like
me.
woman phase. Remember you ever heard of that shit, woman phase?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my
by the way,
gosh.
and I think I meant to send you this article, written by a black woman that talks about the issue with comparing being trans to a woman face and blackface.
Oh, that was
To me,
Manimal. Yes.
to
Yeah, that
me, I
was
think
me.
we should call it chosen evolution.
Uh-huh. And
Like we're choosing to
you know how I
evolve.
got that fucker?
I like
I
that
was
stuff.
like, can adult human males look like adult human females naturally? He was like, yeah. So then what the fuck is woman face?
That's what I don't
Yeah.
understand. Is like they don't realize that they are hypocrites to their own arguments about saying we go by stereotypes when they imply that there is a woman face or that you are implicating the female sex, right? They're saying there is a look to a female, there is a look to woman, right? Like, did they not realize that?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
By the way,
that's why I got him. I'm like, what does a fucking adult human female look like?
And when you recommend
by the
FFS
way,
to a turf, they get so mad at you.
hi Coffee. How's it going, bestie?
Who's that?
Coffee, the GC. Hi, Coffee. I saw them scroll by or whatever. Coffee, hi. I hope that you're not mad that I made you crash the fuck out two different times. I really hope that you're okay and that we can still be friends. Coffee. Sorry, I'm petty. You guys know this. I love making fun of GCs.
They
Exactly that,
also
boss
say the
lady.
female names, right? Like they won't call like certain of them won't call trans women female names. They say, but again, who decided that this is a female name? Like, are you not going again by these same bullshit stereotypes that you claim you don't want to go by, and that's all our side does is what they claim? None of it makes any sense.
Yeah, realistically speaking, in society out and about, you have no way of knowing what someone's sex is. You go based off their phenotypic expression or presentation.
Real
So
quick, thank you guys all for the conversation that we've had. I definitely feel like I've learned a lot. Um, I think this definitely will help me in my future debates. Again, I'm continuing to try and to learn and to grow to fight for our rights. I do very much value having science and medicine on our side, though. I guess that's my one and only contention. But other than that, again, thank you guys.
Wait, who's contention to getting sued? Because Atlantic and I love science and education and stuff like that, and we
Yeah, I
do
don't.
that. What are you talking about? That's my core argument. I don't do the whole personal experience bullshit. I think that shit's fucking dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I use science as well.
My
Yeah,
only critique
I
of you,
guess
Alyssa,
what
is
I'm
don't go around just calling friendlies gender criticals like that.
no,
That's not
again,
cool.
again, the moment you guys started like narrowing down on just one part of what I was saying, that's something I've experienced so many times in the past, and like I'd be muted. I want to be able to get my point across. I'd be belittled. So again, that was my fault, and I do apologize for that. And again, you guys have helped me, so thank you.
And you might want to check who you're calling a GC, because I mean, that's like you just throwing your fist at a mosh pit and then getting upset when someone pops you in the mouth.
Yeah, well,
Being a single
again,
GC, single GC that came up here. Not a well, besides the one that brought up just to kick down because I'm petty, but
oh my God, did I tell ya that I upgraded my phone from an iPhone 13 Pro Max to the 16 Pro Max?
oh,
Yeah,
congratulations!
that's a pretty good
Congratulations
leap.
on your graduation.
Girl, I'm fucking loving this phone.
You're now an adult. Congratulations.
yeah, so
I say this having a fucking iPhone X, so I
And
can't
I
fuck
wasn't
with it.
gonna do it because I'm like, do I really need this shit? Not really, but I really fucking
Ha-
want it.
Having the newest model of a phone just brings some kind of like good feelings.
Well, I mean, everything works too. Like at least
Right.
a little bit longer too, because you get to
Your
a
battery
point
life is
sometimes
so
where
long.
Oh my
It
god, the
charges
battery
so
life,
quickly.
girl.
I can't wait to
Yes.
get a new
It's
phone.
crazy.
I'm still operating off of a freaking Galaxy Note 8. It's ancient.
Oh my gosh, that's like 10 plus years old, right?
Yep, I can't wait to get a new phone here soon.
Ooh, love that. You need a newer phone. It's gonna start glitching out on
Oh,
you.
oh, and Alyssa, like you probably want to keep an eye on who exactly you platform with, because it's wild that you were platforming with Ash and then you're calling people like
No,
HBCUs. That's insane. That's insane.
I actually didn't know what was going on with Ash until the
Well,
call out live.
that's why I said you want to check out who you're hanging around with.
Yeah, so like when I first saw Echo, I recognized Echo from that call out live, so that's why I came up. I felt really comfortable, but it was the moment that again I started being pinned down, it kind of had that same feeling, and again that was not I shouldn't be I'm not trying to justify if anything, I'm just saying that is where that response came in, and again I am very, very sorry for it. I cannot say that enough. Again, you guys have helped me. If anything I want you guys to take away from this is that you guys did ultimately help me, and it's definitely going to help me, because all I want to do is I want to make sure that we do not lose any more rights than what we already are.
Well, to be completely honest with you, what is it, Alexis? I'm not looking at my phone right now, so I don't know what the name is.
Alyssa.
Alexa? Alyssa.
Alyssa.
These TikTok lives have no power or influence in like what rights we gain or lose.
I'm not quite sure how to help you.
Alexa, shut up.
Alexa, play Hit 'Em Up.
But
The
yeah, like
most you can do is educate people on here.
Yeah, that is my end goal, is to educate people. That's why you guys were obviously in the call out live. You guys know Amber EDU, you guys know Pax. I platform with people like Taylor, Brandon, Kyle,
Yikes.
Mel.
Yikes.
Like
Which Mel?
I can't remember her full name, but
Mother of a trans
I
daughter,
platform
Mel?
with a lot of medical and scientific experts. Dr. P is another one.
Wait. Is this Mel? Is this Mel the one with the trans flag?
It might be. But like, there's been a
Yikes.
lot that.
No, the trans flag one is good. The other one is
it's
the
Canadian, Mel.
Yeah.
So I
Yikes.
platform with the trans flag one.
Okay,
There's
then
also
she's
one
good.
that is a mom of trans kids
Oh,
who I platform with.
yikes.
Yikes. Yikes.
Yikes on bikes. Yikes on
I'll
bikes.
tell you,
Yikes on
Taylor
bikes.
is problematic in itself. There's a huge problem with a lot of cis people that run trans topics that, again, only understand a surface level of it.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm just gonna. I'm sorry, Echo, if you get shit from this, but like, definitely don't fuck with Not a Safe Space or Geek.
Oh, yeah, no, fuck them.
Okay, good. Yeah, don't fuck with them because
Yeah, I
they
don't
will
fuck
talk
with
on
none yet.
they will talk on us, but then we try to go up there and talk about anything. They kick us down. They use us for the content. That's it.
Did you guys see last night?
I didn't
I
see
think
last
that
night.
I
I'm
think
just
That was
that
talking about.
geek
horrible.
I think that geek does pretty well in the trans debates.
I do too. I think that I like their arguments, to be honest. I like watching their lives, but last night was wild with like the whole like victim blaming thing, and just it was just crazy.
I
What
didn't see
happened
any of
last
it.
night? What the fuck happened last night? What did I miss?
Oh, you missed it, Atlantic? Oh my god. I think
Yeah, I didn't
I
see
don't
it
be
either
I don't
because
be
I
out
was.
these freaking drama things. Like you hardly ever catch me in like in these like
it
like
started.
Unless it's your boyfriend Irish.
Are we talking
Yeah.
about the situation with Athena?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it started.
Athena,
It started with.
Irish, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
It
what
started with the Harry.
happened?
So it started with the Harry live that was held in Alina's live. Irish set it up to hold it within her live because it was like about the the two women that a lot of people have seen, like they're kind of like the face of like a lot of this, Sarah and Carly. And so they came on and they wanted to kind of just like separate themselves from all these other women. They're like a lot of them are getting grouped together and the story's getting convoluted. And so the whole point was to kind of like explain the situation and kind of air things out that are being misconstrued and like, you know, they were never calling Harry like a rapist, like that was put out there, like just certain things that were just misconstrued, right? So that was the point of it. It ended up being a really nice live. They got to, you know, share their input. Irish did his thing, right, with like showing stuff, and Chris actually came up there and oh my god, he crashed out. It was crazy. Not Harry, but Chris. Chris came up there. It was literally insane. He crashed out real hard. And made it all about him. I think I have that clip. And then that live ended, right? And it ended on a pretty decent note. And then Geek had a live. I guess they watched that live, and she said that she kind of just wanted to like. This is what she told Athena, was like, I guess she wanted to kind of just, you know, shoot the shit with her friends and just kind of talk about it, what had happened, I guess. But when I came into that live, I started to see like the way that they were like addressing. Sarah was on the panel and they were like very hostile towards her. And that's one of the girls, like I said, that was with Harry. And it was just, I was like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Because like I said, I like their lives normally and I respect them. But I was like, why are they coming at her like this? What is going on? Like kind of like she was the you know, SLUT and she's lying and like just and like siding with Harry. It was very weird, very very weird. And so I guess their opinion was they don't think he should get canceled over this, and I think they think a lot of the women are lying because like he said he didn't want a relationship or some bullshit, and like they're misconstruing the whole you want to talk to. But the point is if these women have boundaries and you're manipulating, lying, that was the issue. And so they're like misconstruing what the actual issue was. It's not about them wanting a relationship or you know, whatever.
Hold up a second. Hold up a second. So my understanding, they didn't ask that before sending nudes. They
I
asked
don't
that
think that's
after. One second. They asked that after they sent nudes and said, "Well, if you're talking to the woman, I want you to delete my saved nudes."
They probably
That's
a
one
few. You're
second.
probably right.
No. That's what happened, right? Because I saw the receipts.
Yeah, you're
And
probably right that you said it
then,
that way.
right. So the thing is, I don't believe them either. I don't believe them either. Because if you look, okay, here is why. If somebody tells you, I'm not talking to other women, what the fuck do you think that means? What do you think that means? That they're not talking to other women, like literally in general?
I'm implied
Or
monogamy, right?
that they're not, yeah, or they're not talking to the women like on a serious level? What do you think that means? Which one of those two?
I would say non-romantically, not talking to
Exactly,
anybody other
exactly. Not
than.
on a serious level. That doesn't mean that he's not talking to other women, like literally. That's what that means. And if you follow that statement with, I'm not talking to other women and I don't want exclusivity, what the fuck do you think that means? What is that person telling you?
I mean, you're different. Linda, listen. I understand you're a very like confident person, and you like read through the bullshit. And I've gotten
I,
better
I
and better
just
and
I
better.
just want
But
that question to be answered.
all I'm saying is I don't know. I think that
I
when a
want
guy
that
is
question to be
manipulating,
answered because if somebody tells me I'm not really talking to anyone right now, that doesn't mean that they're not talking to anyone, literally. That means they're not talking to anyone on a serious level.
I don't know if I would have read into it like that though. Like if I
But
think I would
that's
have
what
read.
that means. That is what that it okay. That is what that means. It doesn't mean they're not talking to anyone literally. Because that wouldn't make fucking sense. That means I'm not talking to anyone on a serious level, especially if you follow that up with I'm not looking for exclusivity.
If
Okay,
it's
Like,
followed up with if it's followed up with you're not looking for exclusivity, that's like saying like if we do get in a relationship, it's going to be open. Like that is a clarifying statement for
Yeah,
the
he's not
previous
saying,
statement.
right, he's not saying, I'm only talking to you. Being serious, that's not what that means. It means I'm not talking to any other woman right now, as like on a serious level. Because
Well,
he is talking to other women, duh.
what about when they clarified though later? Like, sure, I can give you, like, I can grant you like the beginning, right? What about when they clarified and asked, like have my, schnoods or whatever? Like, what about that? Like, don't you think that that part was manipulative? Like, if he was talking to other people, all he had to say was, sure, like I'm
I
talking to
think that
people and give them.
if they didn't want them to have their nudes when he's talking to other women, then they should have asked that before sending the nudes, not after.
Sure.
That makes sense. It doesn't make sense for you to say, send you nudes, assuming that he's not talking to anybody else, and then be like, oh, if you're talking to the girls, I don't want you to have my nudes. It's like, first of all, even if that was the case, he has every right to keep that picture.
Was that everybody's like?
He doesn't have to delete that
Was
picture. Like, why?
was that
He can't do
every
nothing
girl's
illegal with it. Like, if he's doing,
story?
hold up. Okay, hold up. Let me finish this point. He can't do nothing illegal with those nudes, right? Like, we know what that means. Too.
I
That
don't think that part.
when a guy sends us pictures of his whatever whatnot, don't we like show each other? Oh my god, look at his ew. La, 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 la.
I want to say, Atlantic, you're right about that because I've done it to a guy who sent it to me, and I showed it to some of my friends. I'm like, look at this weird shit. And we just made
Yeah,
fun of
we've
stuff.
we've all done that shit. Like it's
Yeah.
not that. And if you like, I still, and that's what I was trying to say during the Irish live, saying like, oh, they didn't know any better. What I'm saying is they knew fucking better and didn't fucking care until they learned he had a girlfriend.
Well,
That's when everybody is like, oh my god, I can't believe he's blah 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 blah. And it's like, girl, shut up.
I will
And
say, if you send me your nudes without my consent, I'm gonna make fun of them if I want to, or if I feel so motivated to. Like, it's without my fucking consent. And I'd expect the same thing. If I sent like Atlantic my nudes just out of the blue, and she made fun of me for it, okay, well, what the fuck do I expect? It wasn't with her consent. Like the fuck? It's not a
yeah,
hard thing
because
to understand.
this shit's
Whatever
not
she
making
does with
any
them is what she does with them. I shouldn't have sent them just out of the blue.
this shit's not making any fucking sense. And then
Yeah, that's why I find men sending
coinkydingly,
random D pics is weird.
right, and then coinkydingly, this all comes out after he posted the video with his girlfriend. Unless I'm missing something. That's what I know. From what I see, from what I know, I'm like, no, that's not making any fucking sense.
I would.
Real quick, I'm gonna head out again. Thank you guys so much for
Mm-hmm.
helping educate me. Uh, I would love to like pick your guys' brains more in the future, especially when I come in contact with some of these harder debates. I would love to like talk a little bit more like on the science and all that because that's kind of like what captures my interest and where key takeaways I learned from here is like to not need to defend baseless claims because you guys are 100% right. We should not need to be doing that. I should not need to be doing that, and that does cause more harm when I do try to do that. So I will take that to heart. I guess the biggest thing is like how do I weave in everything I've learned with the sciences and all the academic literature I've been diving into my arguments.
I mean,
Yeah.
Alyssa, you just have to listen more to kind of like, especially people who have been debating this for a long time on here. If you want to learn how to debate, like in how TikTok debates, you like, take that people say things, say like, oh, I know where that goes to, right? Like when, like people know when I talk about phenotypic sex being modifiable and gender expression being used to determine a man or a woman in society. That's the criteria that we use in society.
So,
Yeah.
Can I identify as a dog?
so I need your age, please.
No.
25.
Okay.
What do you mean
Why
when you
not?
say you want to identify as a dog? What do you mean by that?
I want to bark. I want to have a stable job as a security.
Sorry,
Okay,
Bro,
barking is not an
so if
inherently dog
identifying,
characteristic.
it's okay, I got this. If by identifying as a dog you mean you want to bark and have a secure job as a security person, then yeah, you can identify as a dog. You can bark, right?
Yeah, you can become a security guard and bark at people if you want.
If
no,
that's
no,
what it
no.
means to be a, if that's what it means to be a dog, is to bark and be a security, whatever the fuck, then yeah, you can be a dog.
Come on,
So
speak,
would a
boy.
Bark.
stranger in an
But
elevator
if
see you as
somebody
a
doesn't
dog?
address me, one second. If somebody
Stranger,
doesn't address
so
me
would a
as a dog,
stranger in an elevator see you as a dog? Yes or
one
If
no?
second.
someone, hold
One
up, if
second.
someone doesn't address you as a dog, then you let them know, hey, I actually
Come
go
on, speak,
by,
boy. Speak.
How am I supposed to?
I go by dog or whatever the fuck it
But
is you
how
want
am
to
I
go by.
supposed to?
You're supposed to use dog speak, not human speak. Speak like a dog.
Hold up, I got this one because I love
I
when they say
spoke
dumb
in
shit like that.
Yeah, I
hypotheticals,
love this
mate.
argument. I want to hear it. Let it
Oh, but
play out.
hypothetically speaking, based off your own logic, if what it means to be a
Hypothetically, how
dog,
would I tell
hey,
you?
I'm answering your question. Hypothetically, with your fucking mouth, you say, hey, I go by this, like that. You can
Yeah, but
speak, right?
that's not how a dog speaks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's how you speak because you are a dog.
Okay, okay. Let me give you an example, right?
Oh, now you're gonna
If
change
I
the example
now,
now because that one didn't work?
no, no, no. It's the same. It falls under the same category, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, because you guys are saying that we have to identify you the correct way, there are people that are losing their jobs. There are people that are losing their careers, right? If I decide to be a dog, right, for an example,
The fucking policy of the whatever company that you're working for.
Yeah, you're
but
violating the harassment.
If I'm a Christian and I'm not allowed to
You're
lie, why would I
violating.
have to?
Hey, 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 shush. You're
You
violating the
don't make
harassment
religion
policies. That's why it's happening. If you
practice.
violate the harassment policies, then you get fired. Stay mad.
What
So do
harassment
you
If
ask
you
for
policy?
are a
Grammy
If I am a
Christian,
samples for every man
Christian,
you
hold
meet
up,
to determine
guys,
his
hold up. If you
manhood?
are a Christian, I'm sorry, we live in a freaking secular society with separation of church and state.
yeah, but I can't say lies. That's the
Okay,
thing.
then, so let me tell you something. That's in the fucking amendment. You cannot
What?
use your religion to fucking discriminate.
I just call what it is. What it is.
Okay, well then, if I think that
How
you
do you
are a
know who's a
fucking
man or a woman?
okay,
Like,
well
can you
here's the
pull down
thing.
their
If you
pants
just want
though?
to call what you hold up, if you want to call someone what you think that they are, then I'm gonna call you a fucking pedophile. That's what I think that you are.
I
Now
think your
what?
community. I think your community is a bunch of
Oh, you
pedophiles
cannot.
and sick people.
I think that's what you are. Now what?
Yeah.
Now
Now
what?
what? Come say it
Is
to
it
my
true? Is
face.
it
I'll
true?
show you.
Is it true? Oh, look at you getting mad now because I'm using the same logic
No,
against
actually,
you.
I'm not mad at all. But
Right.
should I
Rules not for me, right?
listen? You are a boy, okay? You're not even a
And
man.
you
You're a
are
boy.
a dog that's a pedophile.
Yeah.
There.
Rah, 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 rah.
Oh, you agree with that, right? Oh, look, he's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. Now
pedophile.
you have to
Look at that.
communicate like this to me. You have to bark back to me, you know, and I
Okay,
have to
wolf,
create a
wolf,
system of
wolf, wolf,
barking.
wolf, 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 wolf.
Woof.
There you go. Wolf, wolf, wolf.
Excellent. People that
Now,
Wolf,
can
believe
wolf,
you
that
wolf.
I can,
Wait,
translate for
wolf,
me
people
what
that
it
believe
wait,
that I
is?
can
wait,
become a dog
why are
are
you not
sick.
barking? Why are you not barking?
You are sick.
You are sick. You said you were a fucking dog.
Yeah, but you think I can become a dog?
You just, well, according to what it means to be a dog to you, then yeah. You said what it means to be a dog is to bark and to be work as a security. You can do both
Okay.
those
Can
things.
I then?
Can you bark?
Can I identify as your dad?
STO. Didn't you just tell me like a minute ago that what it means to be a dog is to bark and to work as a security? That's
Can
what you
I
just told
ask
me
Stowe
what
a
it means to be a
question?
dog.
Can
Come
I
on,
ask
boy.
Stowe a
Bark.
question?
Are you gonna stop muting me?
Bark. Bark, boy.
Yes.
Bark.
Celeste
Can
wants
I
to
ask?
ask the dog a question. Go ahead.
Um, are you seriously like making equivocal being trans and being another species? Like, is
I'm
that
making
really
an
the connection
equivocal.
that your brain makes?
I
You gotta
think you're.
talk back to me in dog speak, like dog speak, though.
Yeah,
I
every
Sorry.
think
time you use
this
the
is going.
human language, I'm gonna mute you. So
Because
you
And
have to
cross
pause.
island.
I'm beginning to think you're not a dog, Stowe.
Because due to TikTok terms of service, I can't like discriminate against you like that. You
You
know,
see
you
what I'm
have to
saying?
speak to me in the language that you.
Rough.
So I'm only doing
Oh, he
this
just
because I care
barked.
about TikTok. Oh,
Rough.
really?
No, listen,
Okay.
guys, listen. It's very simple. He
Rough.
said, "How are you defining dog?" He said, "By barking and by working as a security." He can do both those things. So by his own definition of a dog, he's a fucking dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is so dog. The only thing requirement to be a dog is to bark and to work in security.
Are you working in STO? Are you working in security?
What about dogs that don't have jobs?
No, wait. Are you working? Are you working in security, STO?
You're the one who thinks the only thing to be a dog is to
Thinking I
bark
can
and work
become
in
a dog, bro.
security stuff.
You're a bitch made.
Oh, he's triggered. He's
Oh man,
triggered.
so it's okay.
Oh.
You
You
can
think I can
share with
become
the
a
world
dog?
that you're a
You're
furry, dude.
disgusting.
It's okay.
You are retarded and sick in the mind.
Oh,
He's
the
triggered.
slurs.
Oh,
Okay,
Okay.
and
don't
what
use
is wrong?
slurs,
1 second. And
though.
what is wrong with being sick in the mind? What's wrong with that? Let him
What's wrong
answer.
by being?
He has to. He has to
Do you know?
bark.
Do you know how to answer questions?
Yes. What's wrong about being a
Okay.
pedophile?
What's wrong with because you're violating somebody else's fucking bodily
All right.
autonomy?
Just say that.
Children
Two
can consent. That's
things.
No, he
what's
Two
didn't
wrong
say
with
that.
it.
things.
He didn't say
You're
that. He didn't say.
Stel, seriously, stop saying the P word, okay? We're not going to do that. We're not going to drop slurs. That's your only warning on the slurs.
Can you stop muting me?
That's not me. That's a mod because you're not speaking in your native tongue there by a dog.
Good boy. Good boy.
This is diabolical.
Good boy. When was
Can
got
I
your tongue?
can I just talk to him without being interrupted, please? Okay, STO. I already answered your question. Now can you answer mine? So what's wrong with being mentally ill?
Hold on. Let's actually let the conversation go. As long as
God
he's
damn
not.
it, Echo. Okay.
I know.
You
I
don't
know.
think so you don't think there's something wrong with being mentally ill?
No, you just should belong in a
Then
mental
why are
asylum.
you
That's
here
where you should
fucking
be.
judging people and shit then?
Go to a mental asylum, and then I will be happy. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have
I
to
want
go
you to
to a
guess
mental asylum.
who on this
Hold.
panel is actually
Oh
mentally
my
ill.
god.
Anyone that's not. I'm not talking about depression. I'm talking about mentally ill. We're
He
talking
thinks
about
Okay,
the
people
only
like
requirement to be a
and
dog is
by can
barking.
I finish my conversation with him? And what does it mean to you mentally ill?
Hey
Go.
everyone, don't listen to him. He literally was in another live talking about
Okay.
some he identified to be rude. I was just
Be quiet.
no,
damn.
I'm not.
Okay.
Get
Bye.
muted, bitch.
So don't call women a B.
What does it mean to be mentally ill? STO?
I think people that
Mm-hmm.
how can I explain it, right?
Want to like make you feel bad, but I don't believe you can become a dog. You believe that though.
Same thing. I don't believe that you can
Not the
become a
same
woman.
thing. Okay, and what is a woman?
A woman is a person that has female genitalia upon birth. And
Upon birth.
upon birth, yeah, correct.
Okay, so do all females have that upon birth?
No, we have males, females, and hermaphrodites. Are you a
Okay, so
hermaphrodite?
Don't
not a
say
women.
the H word. That is
STO.
considered a slur.
That's not a human term. That's for like plants and certain species, not human. So you acknowledge that not all women have that at birth. So where'd he go?
He got dropped because I did say that was the last time for using slurs, and he did that.
But I don't think he knew that H was a slur.
I don't think so.
I don't think he knows anything.
Was he? That guy was he Italian or some shit? I think he was Italian.
I just
It
want
wasn't me
him
who dropped
barking
him.
like a good boy. And I want to scratch his tummy and play with his ears and give him dog treats.
All right.
No, that dog
So,
needing a muzzle.
please be mindful of language. Use TikTok safe language. That's the only way you're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, but what did I say?
The
The
H
H
word
word.
What's the
doesn't
H
apply
word?
to humans, and when you apply it to humans, it's considered a slur.
Yeah, the herma word, that word right there. Can't say that on
Really?
TikTok.
Yeah, you either have to say intersex or DSD.
It basically implies that there was
That's a
something wrong
yes
with
or
them.
no
Yes,
question.
yes,
There's
but
the
there was
woman,
something
right?
wrong with them.
Right, so you don't need that to be a woman.
Can you define what a woman is? you basically saying that looks like a woman, right?
Is that what denote means?
I don't know. Educate me. I'm not as smart as you are, apparently.
Denoting means you have some kind of indication towards that sex via the necessary condition
So you
of
look
said
like it, right?
sex. Did I say that?
That's
Is that
what
what
you
I
said right
said?
now.
When
Yeah.
did I say you have to look like a woman to be a woman? When did I say that? Are you hearing things? Are you mentally ill?
If I don't hear things, I'm mentally ill, or am I deaf?
I mean, if you're hearing me say strawberries are purple when I'm talking about fucking airplanes, then yeah, something is wrong with you.
Okay, go again one more time, and please simplify it because I'm not as jargon
I'm sorry,
literate as
sweetie.
you are.
That is as simple as it's gonna get. And if you cannot understand that, not my problem. An
Okay,
adult
repeat that.
human that denotes the female sex.
Can you explain what the notes mean?
Indication towards.
So looks like it indicates that it is something that is not, right? So
No,
if
I
I dress
said
up,
I
if I dress up
STO. I
like a
said
lawyer, am I a lawyer?
STO. I said via the necessary condition for being a female.
If I look like a doctor, am I a doctor?
Condition of being female.
Bruv, I just think that you're all mentally ill. Go to the asylum
Why
and
should I
fuck.
care about what you think if you don't understand what fucking words mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Listen,
you
I'm a
can't.
computer programmer.
I'm
I'm
not
smarter than
listening to
you
you.
because I
I'm
don't.
not listening to you because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Why should I listen to you?
I know more than you. I can tell you what a male is
Oh
and what a
yeah, you
female is.
do. Okay.
Yeah, trust me.
What's a female?
A female is a woman. Is a person that grew up to be a woman, and it is a
A
woman
female
upon
is
birth.
a person. So
Yes. Okay. Make fun of me.
I guess like human beings are the only ones that have a female sex, right?
Right. You right.
If
Right?
a person
Humans
is
are the
born,
only
if a
species
person
that
is
has
born
a
with a
female
vagina,
sex.
if a person is born with a vagina, is a woman. If a person is
We already
born
went over that and
with a
you
penis, it
agreed.
is a
We
boy.
already went over that and you already agreed that you don't have to be born with that to be a woman or a female.
Yeah, but surgically adding or
I
mutilate.
acknowledge that there's many females who are born without that, yet they're still
Not many.
females.
Not many is the exception to the rule.
Are they still female?
Yeah, but they are not like you. You trying to.
So that's not what's making them female now, is it?
Now what is it? Tell me.
Not that. So you got to pick something else, buddy, because that's not it.
Celeste has their hand raised as well.
If I paint my hair gray, right, and
Did you not just hear Echo say that I had my hand raised?
Right.
Thank you. Do you think that female and male only applies to like human beings? Like, why are you conflating gender and sex to be the same thing when they're not?
Because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He doesn't.
Well, they are the same thing.
Okay,
Male, female.
is a boy and a man the same thing?
No, but a boy, what a man.
Hold up a second. Hold up. So boy and man is not the same thing, right? Is
It
boy
is the
and man
same thing, but
Hold
the boy
up.
has not yet
Hey,
been a man.
no. You
It
said
hasn't
no, they're
become a
not
man
the
yet.
same thing. So it's not the same thing. Is a caterpillar a fucking butterfly?
Not yet.
So it's not a butterfly, right?
Not yet.
So the answer is no, it's not a butterfly.
But it will become a butterfly.
Okay, will become
Naturally.
means that it's not currently. You
But it's in the
understand that,
process.
right?
Daily is in the process. A
Then
boy
you
is
are
becoming a
then
man
you
daily.
are a trans man. Then you a trans man.
Bruv, you're a sick man.
What does trans mean?
Caterpillars.
STO. Hold up. What does trans mean? STO.
It basically means that you're transitioning from one thing to the other.
Hold up. It's okay. We're gonna roll with that. So it means transitioning from one thing to another.
Yes.
Did you not transition from a boy to a man?
From a boy to a man. Yeah, correct. But
Yeah.
I can't transition from a boy to a woman.
So you are a trans man.
Bruv, you are mentally
You
unstable.
are a trans man.
By your
Bro,
own
I can't
definition, you're a
transition from a
trans
boy
man.
to a woman.
If
That's
trans
the
means to
difference.
transition, you went through a gender transition. You're a trans
Because
man.
I'm developing, that means I'm, bro, you are
Yeah,
mentally ill, bro.
transition means to change from one state to another, right?
I can't go from a boy to a woman. End of story.
STO. It doesn't matter. You still went through a gender transition. You went from a boy to a man. You were a trans man.
That's not a gender transition. Jesus
That is
Christ, bro.
okay. Is
Yes, it
boy and
is.
man the same thing?
They are not the same thing. It's like you
Okay,
telling me that
so we
a tomato seed
understand,
is not a tomato.
right?
It
So
came
we
from a tomato,
understand
correct?
STO. We understand that boy and man is not the same thing, right? Were you born a man?
I was born to be a man.
That's
That's
not
the
what I
difference.
asked you. Were you born a man?
I was born to be a man.
That's not
But
what I
no, I
asked
Yes or
wasn't.
you.
no question.
So
Yes or no
you
question.
weren't born a man. You were born a what? A boy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you became a man.
Yes.
Okay, how do you become a man?
By eating food, sleeping good, and exercising. I guess so. Something like that. And the passing of time. That's how I did it. I don't know how you guys did it.
So you changed into a man, right? Because you developed
I
your body.
grew
Yes,
into a man.
growing entails a change occurring, you idiot.
I guess
But
I'm a
is it
man now because
instantaneous?
I
Is
eat
it
and I sleep.
instantaneous? Is it instantaneous? No. It
Doesn't
takes
have to be
years.
instantaneous.
No, it doesn't have to
The
be
point is that you
instantaneous.
transitioned from a boy to a man. You're a trans man.
I grew. Transition is a
That's a
different thing.
transition. What does transition mean?
To go from one thing to the other.
To change from one state to another state. So you went from being a boy to a man, which are not the same thing you said, right? So you changed from being a boy to a man. You went through a gender transition. You are a fucking trans man. Based off your own logic. So how
Based
does
off
it
my
feel to be
own.
trans?
Is this the same thing that we did this past weekend, Atlantic?
How does it feel to be trans, STO?
Caterpillars don't even always become butterflies, so I don't know why you made that
That's why he's
comparison. They're
laughing,
also moths.
because he knows that I'm right.
I think I know you are mentally ill. That's the thing.
If
You
I'm
should go to
mentally
the
ill for
asylum.
pointing out, if I'm
Mentally ill because you're trying to enforce your
what's my mental illness?
ideology to other
What's
people.
my ideology? Well, you believe the same ideology too because you transitioned from a boy to a man.
No, really. I grew from a boy to a man. That's the
And
difference.
growing means what? Changing?
Yeah, not going to the doctor and injecting myself with fucking hormones. That's the difference.
Do you know that cis men
Wait,
and boys also need hormones?
people who need that because they're born with like some kind of deficiency are mentally fucking ill.
Were you born with a deficiency or were you mentally ill and you wanted to
Yes, I
change?
was born with a deficiency of estrogen.
I think you were born with a deficiency of brain cells, but okay.
I
Okay,
mean,
prove
yes,
that.
we all were. We had to grow and develop our brains.
Oh my god, this guy is really fucking stupid.
You know what? The funny thing is, I am a
I don't
programmer.
think
I
you
make
know
websites.
anything.
I develop
I don't think.
software. I have
Oh, I wouldn't
businesses.
go to you
I
for that.
think you ain't nothing.
I wouldn't go to you for that.
God bless, because I wouldn't take your business. Trust me.
I don't give a fuck about your
Your
business. You're a
website's
brain dead
probably
fucking
glitched.
person. You don't even
So-
understand the words that you're using.
Are your websites on GeoCities, Stowe?
On what?
So your websites probably glitch out at the transition page. Like trying to change to one
Bro, I'm
page to another,
smarter
they
than all
probably
of you
break down.
combined.
Mira,
That's
he's
the
still
difference.
transitioning from a boy to a
Smarter
man.
than
He's
all.
not there
What's your
yet.
profession?
You're
Everyone, give me a
still.
profession in here. What do you do? You
I'm
be
an
a surfer?
administrative assistant.
My profession is making people like you look stupid.
Stowe, I work in
So you are
cybersecurity.
jobless. Next.
No,
Stowe,
I
I
get
work
paid
in
a lot of money for this.
cybersecurity.
What, Mars? What are you? What profession?
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. Perfect. Because I used to develop spyware back in the day. I coded it myself. Have you done something like that?
Ooh, we're so impressed.
Oh, he's trying to prove his
Wait a
dick is
minute.
bigger than ours.
Wait a minute. You used to, which means that you're transitioning into something else. What job are you going for now?
Career transition.
Oh, so you're trans. You're
Mars,
trans
you are
career
a
too.
useless
So he's a
cybersecurity
he's a
expert.
transcoder.
Oh.
No,
It all falls in the same
according to this guy,
Okay,
wait one second. According to this guy, he's above everybody else in here. It's giving
Of course I am. Look at my
narcissism.
mustache.
Yeah,
So,
you know what?
do you
You know
work
what
for a
that's
Fortune
called? That's
100
called delusions of
technology company?
grandiosity.
Sto, do you work for a
Bro is
Fortune
mewing
100
in his
technology
profile.
company?
Say what?
Do you work for a Fortune 100 technology company in
Do you
cybersecurity?
work in Fortune when, bro? No, but I'm
Uh-oh,
making
that triggered
money.
the fuck out of him.
It does.
But I'm
He
making
doesn't even
money.
work
Did.
for a Fortune 100 company and he thinks he's smart. It's not even a top
Mm.
tech company.
Where do you
He,
work?
he
As
probably
a
does. He
customer
probably does
service
cybersecurity.
engineer
He
at your
probably
Google
he probably
fucking.
does cybersecurity. Hey, shush. You probably do
Hey, listen,
cybersecurity for
listen,
like Best
Mars.
Buy or
Have you
something.
ever
Hey,
developed
hey, hey,
spyware? This
hey,
is my
hey,
question.
hey, hey, dog, quiet. He probably does cybersecurity for Geek Squad.
That's exactly what Sto does.
Mars,
Yeah.
have you ever developed spyware? That's my
Notice
question.
how you didn't answer me. That's wild.
Are you saying
No,
Because
that
I'm
I'm
a
a
anyone who
programmer.
hasn't?
Yes.
Are you
Imagine
saying that? Hold up. Are you saying that anyone who hasn't developed that shit is stupid? Is that what you're saying, ST Young?
What did I say?
Anyone who hasn't developed any spyware is stupid? Is that what you're saying?
Not really, but if you're a cyber engineer and you work at a favorite whatever 500 company and you don't even know how to do that, I did that at the age of 17. Don't
You
talk
don't
to
have to
me.
know how to do that to
That's
work in cybersecurity, sweetie.
Yeah, you don't have
that's
to know
I
the
not the
created my
only
difference.
own
job in
protocols. I
cybersecurity.
created my
That's
own
It's
not.
not.
protocols. I did things that you would never
Wait a
Stowe,
minute.
imagine of
Wait a
doing.
minute.
So
And you're
Stowe.
gonna call me
I
unintelligent.
present to major corporations and public sectors.
So
By the
you're a
way,
spokesperson. That's what you are.
Stowe. How much did you pay in order to get through the courses for that?
Me, I'm a self-taught person. You lot are paying shit.
Oh,
Oh,
Ah.
you're self-taught, so you don't have any
Self-taught.
certification. You don't have any like any kind
Yeah,
of
I don't need a
HR.
certificate that says that I am a man to be a
Oh,
man. That's the
so you got
difference.
no
I don't need
Wait,
certificates
certification.
to be
Sto, does
smart
your
or
passport
be
say
able
male
to
on
You
it?
understand.
though, it's
Sto,
called your birth certificate. You literally use a certificate to say you're a man every time,
No, if I
Stowe.
drop my pants, you are gonna understand that I'm a man.
According to your
yikes.
definition, your birth certificate is your certificate to say you're a man.
Sto, do you ask
Right.
everyone to drop their
And
pants to
how did the
determine their manhood?
certificate came to be? They saw that I have male genitalia and they
Stowe,
checked
be
it.
quiet. Stowe, be quiet. I need to
No,
ask you
you
a
be quiet.
question. No, you don't get to reverse that on me when I asked you first. So first of all, you're okay with just like threatening sexual harassment to people? Because you just said you would drop your pants and show us that you were a man. Like, that's so weird. Do you realize how weird that is? You know what that's usually a sign of?
Charges.
Being a sexual
I
predator, which is a mental illness.
think the lot of you have problems.
I
I
think I think you need to
Mars,
get
you're a
actual sources so
spokesperson.
you can know
I'm
because you don't know
smarter than the lot of
anything.
you. I really am
Yeah,
Oh
smarter than
okay.
you.
yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at
I'm more
night, whatever
capable.
Okay.
helps
I'm
you
more
Let
feel like a real
sane.
me.
man.
Okay, I
I
got
was
this. I
built
got
to be
this.
a
I got
leader,
this. I got this. Oh yeah. Okay, narcissist. So here's the
Yeah, I
thing.
am a narcissist.
You
Proudly
think you're?
accept it.
Do you understand that narcissists are delusional?
They are
Delusional.
also mentally ill.
Yeah, you're
It's
delusional.
literally in
You
the
think that
DSM-5.
you're better and smarter than everybody else when you're actually not.
Brother, I am better than everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I am. I never lost,
Wait,
never will. I'm physically capable,
you
mentally capable. You will not tell me
you
what I am or what I'm not.
you
You're
just
Proudly.
said you're a
physically capable
narcissist,
of
which is a
everything.
mental illness.
Yeah, it's a
You
personality
can say
disorder.
whatever you
But
want.
here's the
I'll say
thing.
I believe in myself. That's the end of the story. I
Watch me
believe in
cook this
myself.
guy. Watch me cook this guy in 2 seconds.
Yeah, cook me.
So, what are the laws of logic? What are the laws of logic? Because to be smart, you need to know logic. What are the laws of logic? Tick
A logic
tock,
person
tick tock,
is
tick tock. That's not what I asked you. What are the laws of logic?
taking data and comparing it.
Ah, that's not the laws of logic, you dimwit idiot potato. You're stupid. You're dumb. Get the fuck out of my
So
face.
so you
Nigga,
said
nigga,
eating,
nigga, nigga, nigga,
sleeping.
nigga, 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 nigga,
Wait, you
nigga,
said
Uh-oh.
eating.
There's a
Uh-oh.
crash out.
Yeah, he crashed out.
He did that as soon as a black person showed their face. Um, he said that eating, sleeping, and what else made a man. I'm gonna do that right now so I can be a man and assert dominance.
W.
Yeah.
By the way, Celeste, you look wonderful as always.
Oh, thank you, Katie. I'm doing a filming shoot today.
That crash out was wild.
Oh my
You
god.
guys are mentally ill, but also I'm a narcissist, which is literally listed as a mental illness in the
And,
DSM-5.
And I'm going to use slurs over and over and over when I see a black person. Honestly, I wish that kind of thing would bother me as a black person, but every time they crash out like that, I can't help laughing. I don't know why. I know they're not doing it to be nice, but it just makes me laugh so hard.
I'm not gonna lie, when I see a white man come up in the live, it's automatically assumed they're gonna do some freaking out of pocket shit.
It always makes me laugh. Like I actually have tears coming down my face whenever that happens. I have a compulsion to laugh. Yo, for making me laugh. I needed it this week. That was so nice of you. Thank you very
He's a
much,
perfect
Tio.
example of why not all parents should have had fucking kids. Because then you end up raising
He, he's why
that shit.
he's why I'm not only pro-abortion all 9 months. I'm pro-abortion all 100 years.
Help! No.
Katie.
What? It's true.
Oh my god.
I'm pro-abortion all 100 years.
If these bigots can even last 100 years.
Look, I want to make sure I cast a wide net. Okay. But I used to say up until age 50, and then I ran some pretty shitty 50-year-olds, and I'm like, okay, 80.
Don't let them
Pretty
get
shitty
past
80-year-old.
50. Don't let them get past 50. You won't have a problem.
Look, I don't think we should let them get past, 5, but that's a lot of people be catching in that net. So that's why I say all 100 years. I give people options.
I literally give people the age until they can get outside resources to educate themselves. That's it. Like,
All 100 years.
no, I'm saying like when people are like, "Well, I grew up in this place and I couldn't like do it," like being like, "You have the resources to."
So I'm having a kind of like a side thought here real quick that just popped in my head. What does native mean? Like when you're native to something, what does that mean?
Originating from a place, right?
I mean, are you talking like indigenous or like
Just
First Nation or
no,
like
no, no,
native?
no. Just when you're native to something or a place or whatever, what does that mean?
I think it means you come from that.
Yeah,
place.
born into. I think born into
Born
is
in that
probably.
Or
place?
you naturally exist there. Like
Yeah,
Like
that's where you're
born in that
supposed
like
to be.
plant
place?
there are native plants and stuff that like exist in certain areas. That's why like invasive species like come in bringing that they bring
that group, right?
I think it just means that you originate from there. Like you can't trace anything
I
to
looked up to
being
be
from before that.
I looked up to be sure, and it says native and indigenous are both terms used to describe people or things that are native to a place, but indigenous is more specific and preferred by many. We're talking about people, which is shit. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay. It says here, native can be, while indigenous is used more specifically to refer to non-white original inhabitants.
Well, but Katie, what about things like like when you fill out an application and it asks if you're fluent in something, right? Normally,
It
one of
says
the
birthplace.
Yeah, one is for birthplace, the other one is for non-white original inhabitants. So, like, a friend of mine said they're indigenous to this place.
Isn't
Oh,
indigenous like a race?
Yeah,
Okay, well I'm talking about like just being native to a place. What does that mean?
that
Being
means that
it just
born.
means you're
a
born
person
there.
that's local to the area.
That
So, like,
you born in that place, right?
where you
Something
primarily
like
live in
that.
that place. Like a Baltimore native is someone who was born there or
So
primarily.
aren't we all Native Americans then?
No, I think that has different context.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be different
How is
because
it
that's
different?
referring to the original inhabitants.
I
because
think that's
that
why
native
indigenous
refers to
people
First
want to be
Nation,
called that.
But they
yeah,
weren't
or
the original
indigenous.
inhabitants there. They migrated from another place there.
Well, we all migrated somewhere.
So then they're not native based off your logic. They didn't originate from there.
I think they're just saying that like
They're the
Oh,
first
let me
people
look it
to.
up because
they're
that's
the
the part that
first
that's what
people
I've
to
They're the
been.
live
first
there.
people.
Oh my
They're the
God,
first people to be
hold up.
from.
That's the part that I'm not understanding. Like I don't get that. Hold up, let me look.
They're the
That
first
might
people
be
to be
why they
from.
want to be called indigenous instead of
Yeah,
native, because
Katie's nailing it though. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
it's
it's the people who are first to that land and primarily stayed and grew up in that land.
yeah, it's
It's not
like
like
born
Africans
and
were the first
raised.
ones. It's not like Africans were the first ones to be in America, despite what Hotep like to say. We're not the first people to this land, so therefore we could not be indigenous. I could grow up in Philadelphia and be a native Philadelphian, but I'm not an indigenous Philadelphian.
Yeah, that's why like a lot of times you call it First Nation, because literally the first group of people to inhabit North America.
So I looked it up, and it
Well,
says
it's
that
First Nations like
Native
a Canadian
American and
thing.
indigenous is like the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
Native
but
American and Indigenous are the same thing. The terminology that people use comes down to preference there. If you're saying the difference between Native and Native Americans, there's different contexts there. Yeah, inhabit Turtle Island, when we're talking Native, it just means like place of origin.
Yeah, like if you're saying an indigenous Russian, then you're saying the first peoples to that land, which is different than a native Russian, which is somebody who lives in the land or lives in that city or lives in that town or whatever.
Right. So it's
What's
like in
the
in Norway, there's the Sami, right, and then
so
there's the
based off what I
Inuits.
read, Native American is like synonymous with indigenous,
You're
which is a
talking about
race.
you're talking about colloquially.
It doesn't
That's a
say
colloquial understanding. There's
colloquially,
a
it says
colloquial
just what it
understanding.
means.
There's a colloquial understanding, and then there's the academic understanding.
Okay, when I'm asking what does native mean, I'm asking for what that word means, and it means a place of birth.
Yes, that deals with the
Okay, so if
colloquial
I was
meaning.
born in America, then I'm a
when
Native
you're
American.
You're native
I'm
to
native
America.
to
You're not
America.
indigenous to America.
I think this is the same with Hawaiians. Like
yeah,
people can be born into Hawaii, but that doesn't make them Hawaiian, right?
yeah.
Because that's two different things. And I think it's the same with Puerto Rico, right? Like people can
It's
be
also
Puerto
the same with
Rican.
Australia, like Aboriginal people.
If you're born in Australia, you're
Yeah.
Australian.
No, I'm saying
So,
like being Aboriginal, you just because you're born in Australia doesn't make you
yeah, being
Aboriginal.
born, yeah, you're not Aboriginal because you're born in Australia.
No,
Aboriginal is a
I'm
very
not talking
specific.
about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the word native alone.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're
Right.
getting to. When it comes to Australians, you could be a native Australian. It does not mean that you're an Aboriginal. Aboriginal is specifically an indigenous Australian person. They're the first people to Australia. They are not the white people. They are the indigenous people, the Aboriginals.
Yeah, so we're saying when you add Native and American together, it becomes an entirely different concept than just being Native and being American.
And that's where the colloquial and the
Yeah.
academic understanding, I'm sorry, context is key. Because colloquially, yes, native, sure, I'm getting this right.
Yep.
So I do get what people don't understand, because I used to be in that same spot where I thought that indigenous American and Native American were the same thing, and that's not exactly the case. You know, you can be an indigenous, your people can for lack of a better example, because I'll use Baltimore. Your people can be from the area of Baltimore, and you're an indigenous person. You can say you're an indigenous.
Means native.
No, indigenous doesn't mean native. They don't
It
mean the
does. I
exact
just
same
looked
thing.
it up.
You're looking at the colloquial understanding of it, Atlantic.
I looked the academic version.
The academic one would tell you it's two different things. One is
Indigenous
people
means
from
that they're native,
one is the
that they're
people that
native
are
to that
from
particular place. Blah blah blah
a
blah blah
native would
blah.
not be the same thing as indigenous.
Okay, I am telling you that I looked it up, and that's what it means.
And I'm telling you, that's not the case.
Don't you think that words can have multiple meanings?
That's what I was just saying.
Right.
Did I not
So
say it twice,
native
Atlantic?
means
Atlantic.
indigenous.
Did I not just say this at least twice?
You're not
Hey,
listening to what I'm saying.
Academic
I'm
understanding.
not
Atlantic.
talking colloquially. Okay, stop. Native
No, you
means
stop,
indigenous.
Atlantic. You
You
stop.
stop because I'm looking up the same shit you are,
Atlantic,
and it's telling
stop.
me this.
Atlantic, stop. You don't know what
No,
you're
you
talking about right now.
stop. Yes, I do because I looked it
No,
up.
you don't. You don't know what you're talking
So
about.
that's wrong what I looked up.
You don't. I'm not even looking at my phone. What are you even talking about? You're not looking at the same thing I'm looking at.
You said the academic definition?
Yes, so it's academic and then it's colloquial understanding. And you're saying in a
Is that
colloquial
native?
context.
Hold up a second. I looked up both. Both. Indigenous means native.
Indigenous did not mean native.
Okay, I'm gonna just have to show you.
We say
Ellsworth is native to Australia, but he is not indigenous. He is not the first group of people that lived. He's not a part of the first group of people that lived in Australia. Like I don't see what
yeah,
the
it's not
point
hard
is
to
really.
understand. You could be a native to an area and not be indigenous. It's such a simple thing to understand.